welcome everybody to your weekly wellness check where we just discuss fitness, the fitness industry, connected fitness, a lot about Peloton since a lot of us are Peloton riders, runners. But we also talk about Tonal and Echelon and Tempo and all the other players as well. If you'd like to join the conversation, please feel free to just hit the hand in the lower right of your phone and we'll bring you right up on stage. If you're uncomfortable with that, please don't stress out. Just hang out in the audience, just listen in. You know, if nobody's talking, I'm all good. I'll just keep talking. It's all good. So don't stress out on it. It's meant to be light conversation. It's meant to just be, people getting together and chit-chatting about fitness and the fitness industry. So no stress. All right?
Well, we got plenty of talkers. That's not our problem.
Now, we don't have that issue? Oh, okay.
We don't have that issue. We got plenty of people who like to talk.
And this stuff that's been happening this week's kind of crazy, right? I mean...
It hasn't even been a full week. It's only been, 4 days?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
5 days?
It's just been a few days. It's not even been a full week. And all of a sudden, we got craziness going on. So there was the announcement that Peloton was going to be laying off another 784 people. And the large majority of those folks were going to be in, their service centers. And it seemed like it was going to be, warehouse workers and customer service type reps that were, previously working in the office, and maybe some of those folks were going to then now be working from home. But the idea that 784 more layoffs was the big news. And they also talked about the closure of warehouses and many of the showrooms. I'm now wondering, relative to these things that are happening right now, we're going back to, all third-party delivery. It sounds like, what does that mean for, I don't know what it means from, customer service. Is that all third-party? I don't know what that is. But it sounds like they're truly streamlining everything down to, as simple as it could possibly be, which... Is it because the industry's rough right now? It's like nobody buying connected fitness products? Or is it just that's how far Peloton had gone in, in extending themselves? I don't know. I don't even know how to play this. I don't know how to judge it, rank it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reckoning. It's all coming to roost. I mean, it's the pandemic fueled this thing. It fueled everyone. It brought so many players in. Everybody thought they were unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I think we're just kind of seeing it now. Okay, are we out of the normal setting? Plus, we flooded the market. The market was flooded with products.
Right.
A bunch of people bought them just so they have something at home.
Right.
Now, all the used market's flooded. You can't turn your head on Facebook Marketplace without seeing at least 3 or 4 Pelotons and Echelons, whatever it is. And everyone's is just buckling down. It's cost cut, because they can't justify the business model based on the current cash flows. That's just the way it's going to be. And you're going to see again. You've seen Peloton talk about build your own bikes.
Right.
That they're moving away from the, I guess you call it the white glove service.
Right.
Don't blame them. I mean, frankly, they're trying to preserve any kind of margin they can. And you're going to see more of that. It's not going to get better. It's just going to continue.
What I wonder about, is, again, I know there's a list of connected fitness companies that we're now seeing this with. I wonder, it's almost like everyone played it a similar way, right? It's like everyone overplayed during the pandemic. I originally thought, maybe, Peloton, they were at the top. So if, they probably went the furthest, and maybe there were, other companies that may have been more cautious, but in seeing the broad swath of closures and layoffs, it's like everyone did this, right? That's what it seems like. I don't know. Maybe it's just what I'm seeing. Yeah, let me bring up.
No, I think you're right, John. I think 100%. I mean, it was irrational exuberance is the term I guess the Fed used back in the day. Everyone thought you couldn't lose.
Right.
I mean, you could. I mean, even the the weirdest of the products were getting sales because people just wanted. There were times. Remember when it was 12 weeks to get a spin bike at your front door. So people were going every which way on Sunday to catch anything they could.
Right.
And, so people were banking on that, and investors were dumping money to it. Everyone was going to be the next Peloton or the next whatever. And so the investor market just flooded cash into it. And so they just went gangbusters, and everyone looked like a winner until they didn't. And here you are.
It's crazy to see it play out like this. I was one of those fanatics that, back in 2019 and going into 2020, and then when we saw all this spiking up with the pandemic, I was one of those fanatics with like, no, this is just the greatest company ever. This isn't a pandemic thing, or even if it is, it's not that big a deal. No.
100%.
I was wrong.
I mean, I certainly thought there were going to be winners and losers, but I didn't think there were going to be. I didn't think the big winners were also going to be losers. Frankly.
Right. I didn't see this. I completely missed it. What's going on, Nicole?
Hi. Hello, everybody. I wanted just to make a comment in regards to the layoffs.
Yeah.
I've still been battling to find someone that will pay attention to me and apply my $20,000 worth of credits from pre-pandemic.
Oh, you still have credits?
Oh, John.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. I have tons of them, and I can't get anybody. No one will respond to me. And the one person that I had always booked group classes with, that I had gone back and forth a bunch on email, I followed up with them the other day, and it happened to be the day that there were layoffs, and I didn't know at that time, and I received a non-deliverable email for that person. So,
oh, man.
That person definitely had been there for quite some time, and definitely worked. It seemed I don't know what people's positions were, but seemed to be a fairly higher up New York City studio person who accommodated a lot of groups and stuff like that. So, and then I in turn forwarded my original email to just regular customer service, and I've yet to hear back about my millions of dollars worth of credits. So, but it was sad for that. It was sad for that person, because I definitely did a lot of work with them, especially like reserving big spots in the studio for when people would come in for Saturday 60 and stuff. So I was sad to see that non-deliverable.
Yeah, that part's tough about the whole thing, and then hearing. I think we kind of heard this with the layoffs at the beginning of the year as well, but I mean, I must have heard 3 or 4 stories through various channels of people just waking up in the morning and then logging into their computer to start their workday and finding out they have no access to anything. So then they call their manager, and the manager tells them, oh, yeah, you've been laid off. That is rough. Wow.
That was crazy and very frankly unprofessional. I understand people say, well, that's the way you have to do it today. That is not the way you have to do it.
No.
It is not the way you have to do it.
That is tough. But I'm also surprised, even in hearing that. The other side of that surprises me also is that if I go on LinkedIn and you see some of these folks, they're like, well, maybe they have to be from a business perspective. They're looking to get another role somewhere else, but they are very kind and humble about it, and they're not, they don't appear to be upset about how they were communicated to and how they got to this, how they got the news of their layoff. Like, they're presenting it in a very this is how it happened, but it's all good, let's move forward type of way. I don't know if I'd have been like that. I think I'd have been upset. But.
I think part of it's severance agreement stuff as well as just optics, frankly. Right. You're trying to be positive and get attention and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, man, I'll keep this brief. So, as you know, I've been a vocal, not supportive person of Peloton of recent days. But the whole I'm tired of the pandemic play. Like, that's been overplayed, no pun intended. Like, all these companies got caught flat-footed. Yeah. So I can't fault any of them. What I fault Peloton specifically for is the $100 million spent to, quote-unquote, airship bikes. Yeah. The Peloton Output Park, which I hold William Lynch accountable for. Yeah. And all of the other, just irrationally exuberant spend. So, pandemic or not, they had no governance and they had no adult in the room. They needed Barry McCarthy as the CFO, not Joe Wordworth. If that happened, we would not be in this position, but we are. So we can't fix that, and we can't be revisionist history.
That stuff was like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so they spent like drunken sailors. There was no adult in the room, and that's what makes me the most angry.
When I look at it in like, hindsight is 2020 kind of retrospectively, yeah, it's like Peloton Output Park sounds like crazy, and paying for air freight sounds nuts. But at the time, I remember going, air freight? Oh, wow, really? They can do that? Like, I wasn't thinking like this. So it makes me wonder, like, and also given that we're seeing all these other players all struggling in the same way. Like, would Barry McCarthy have been that frugal with it, understanding?
Yes.
Would he have?
100%. He is a CFO through and through. I know his DNA, and I've worked with his kin and the like. He would not have done this. They don't care about the spike in popularity.
Yeah.
They care about metrics. And he is 100% metrics driven, which, right, wrong, or otherwise, I know people are frustrated with him reneging on some things. He's probably the best leader to right the ship. And there's going to be some pain. And he's going to inflict pain on people. Layoffs suck, I agree. That's sad to see. I know some people firsthand that are going through this. So I'm not hand-waving over that. But this is what needs to be unless the company goes bankrupt. And I think none of us want to see that happen.
Right. I agree with that. And yeah, in retrospect, all of this stuff makes perfect sense. You wish they wouldn't have tripled their employee count and started down these paths and purchasing all these facilities and we would have been at a different place. But since they did, they now have to.
You and I and others can armchair quarterback this all day long.
Yeah.
But what I want to see is how they execute going forward.
Yeah.
And even this whole thread about self-service assembly, which I've made fun of. But like when I got my original bike in October 2014, there was no assembly. Whoever, I think it was Peloton, I don't remember even who installed it, but it was like 15 minutes in and out. There's not a massive install. It's and I probably made this myself, the comparisons to IKEA don't hold water. Like you attach the monitor, you attach a couple cables, you want to replace the pedals, that's up to you, but it's not a massive install, other than the weight of the Tread Plus, which is another topic, but I think they can get there, and they can remove some of the friction and a cost of their delivery and installation.
I want to talk about the DIY stuff because I got a bunch of questions on that, but I got that listed a little later in the agenda, so I'm going to skip back past that for the moment. But we're going to come back to that. But before we get to that, I got a question. You know how they said in that Bloomberg article that they're going to be shutting down many showrooms? When I heard that, I thought, well, why not all of them? Like, why is it many? Like, which ones are you leaving open and why? What's the purpose?
I think it's tangential to SoulCycle closing, 25% of their studios. So they're going to keep open the showrooms in the most affluent areas that drive top of funnel. And they can, to quote Barry, the CFO, like they want to see metrics driven. And so what's the customer acquisition cost and lifetime value of that? And he'll be tracking that very closely. But they opened up, I don't know the number of Peloton showrooms off the top of my head, but like they seem to like once again spend like there was no money was infinite.
Right.
So I think if you keep these showrooms open where you think you can build the most awareness and get Peloton acquisition, they'll keep that open until they prove that they don't. They can't shutter them all.
Well, this idea, this would make sense to me if it was 4 years ago. This idea where they were talking about, that you suggest is what I originally thought as well. We'll keep open the ones that are in the most affluent areas, or that kind of was their play, 3-4 years ago. But now that I'm kind of confused. So because then they started talking about democratization, and now they're talking about let's go back to this aspirational brand. Oh, but by the way, we're going to make it DIY, and you're going to be able to get it online in the places where you're at. Like I'm kind of confused, really, if I'm being honest.
No, that's a very good point. So they're conflicted there. So they want to get you into the showroom to get you attracted to it, and then they want you to buy it and assemble it yourself. So it's a conflicting message, which goes back to my continued rant about Marcoms and their inability to thread a consistent story.
Yeah, it's confusing. But okay.
But I think, so, I mean, Barry's got a ton of stuff to do. I actually agree with his overall strategy. As convoluted as it may seem, like he can only solve for so many problems at one time and pull so many threads.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. But that brings me to another question. They could have told us. I mean, did it take until a week or 2 weeks? Not even 2 weeks. A little over a week before the earnings call for them to know this. Like, is this like some strategic drop of all this information, a week and a half before earnings?
100%.
Like, what's the benefit in that? I don't get what did they gain by waiting to this moment to do this? I don't get it.
Well, we've seen a bit of uptick in the stock and less negative sentiment, at least on Twitter, from what I follow.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to seed the earnings call with positivity, and this goes back to Uncle Barry's getting to free cash flow positive.
Yep.
So that's his main mantra. All of these moves are getting to FCF positive.
Yep.
Free cash flow.
Yep.
Like, nothing else matters because growth stocks are still currently out of vogue. So he needs to be a value play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They aren't a growth stock anymore, and I don't think they ever will be. To be very frank, I think the growth phase of this industry is tapered off.
That, what you just said right there, that's where my mind has been. I'm like, has connected fitness kind of seen its best days, and now growth is going to be based on acquisition and merger, and until someone comes up with something new and innovative that no one else has done yet.
I'll go back to a post I made on Facebook probably a year ago when the stock was decent. Like, the growth story is global expansion.
Okay,
We can think about the total addressable market being the U.S.
Yep.
Like, there was a Peloton commercial post on LinkedIn, I think today, or I read it today, about luxury hotels in Australia offering Peloton bikes, and it was a great review. And I may have posted it, forgive me if I did. But like, the growth story is international, not domestic.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, that makes
But I agree with Sheldon, like, this is not a growth stock. This is a value stock with proper adults in the room, derive value from it. And the growth needs to be measured, not spending $100 million here, $100 million there on solving real-time problems.
Yeah. You know what stands out to me like a crazy sore thumb? It's crazy. Like when I went to the studio for me and Erica, went in for a ride a few weeks ago, and you walk in and you see how amazing it looks and everything, and then I get into the restroom and the towels are like crazy plush, and the little hand wipes are like a million ply, right? I mean, like you could tell like when they were setting that place up, it was like intended to look like and present like the affluent like niche of connected fitness, right? But while I was there seeing all that stuff, I was also thinking about things like this. I'm like, wow, we're in the middle of all these cuts and all these reductions and this, this flux that the connected fitness space is in, and I'm in here like,
No, totally. And I'll give up my position on the podium here.
you know what I mean?
But the announcement of new instructors today and the lack of classes, which many people have waxed philosophical on, like that's incongruent to Uncle Barry's vision. It's like, do you want to be a luxury brand? And if you are, offer more classes.
Yeah.
They could be a luxury brand. It just there's the way they just spend money on crazy shit.
Right.
Sheldon, how do we
yeah.
get you into Peloton
Leadership.
executive leadership? Like you're the most
Yeah.
pragmatic guy I've talked to.
Yeah, we gotta figure
Besides
that out.
John.
We gotta figure that out.
I was gonna say for the studio though, if they're gonna charge those prices that they're charging per class, they kind of got to have it a little more upscale, because otherwise you could go to any gym and take a class and not pay the same amount.
Oh,
so
you
I
know,
think some of that stuff has to stay.
100% right. Yeah.
I got a question about that. You maybe you guys can help me out. Okay, so first I heard, oh, the class is going to be $45. Then I hear, no, they're $35. 35 is right? Do I have that right?
33 and
35 is what I
35.
have.
Yeah.
35 is what I heard, and 35 is what I saw.
That's the experience, whatever the experience is.
So that doesn't
Yep.
sound like that sounds like the amount you'd pay a whole bunch of places, unless you go to SoulCycle, and probably a lot more
John,
expensive
so
than
I'll charge you $10. You can come to my home gym. I'll sweat on you for $10.
Does he get a plush towel to go with
No,
it?
Yes,
Oh, totally.
exactly.
He'll
I need
get
the
white
plush towel.
towels, like plush towels. But
Bottle
he
of
gets my
water.
sweat. Yeah, he a small bottle of water.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, $35 doesn't sound like it's like. That sounds like I could go to Joe's gym down the street.
No, it sounds like Soul Cycle, to be honest.
Is it? To me it sounds like it's just the average price for a class. No?
No, I
No,
pay
you go to
more
Y
than
for
that
$10 a month, man.
Oh, yeah,
Long
you're right,
Island
you're right.
classes.
Yeah. I mean, but from a boutique
I'm
fitness
going to shut
perspective.
up now because I don't want to warm out my welcome.
No, you're good.
I appreciate it.
No, I'm not good.
But listen, no, I'm talking about it from like boutique fitness perspective. Like you're in New York City, the boutique fitness, studio here or there and on every other corner. Like, is $35 really expensive from an NYC perspective for a boutique fitness class?
Yes.
No, not for New York. No, it's not.
I'm in Los Gatos.
Absolutely not.
The Soul Cycle studio in downtown Los Gatos here, which is probably one of the most affluent communities in Silicon Valley, closed down pre-pandemic. So I've done the economics of my Peloton experience, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I get that, having the Peloton, of course, is more economical than paying for all that. But I'm just talking about specifically for the NYC home base, their home studio in NYC, in the middle of NYC, where they got all these other boutique fitness classes.
Well,
Charging
then I
people
think
$35
the
for a
allure
class.
is the persona of Peloton instructors versus other Soul Cycle or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, wouldn't it have been more like $50, $60? Why is it 30?
I expected it to be more, honestly, because they have the draw of the instructors.
Right.
Like that's a big deal. We have
Yeah.
instructors that people know all over and that we are fanatical about and would definitely pay to see. Maybe not if you live in New York, you wouldn't do it on a regular basis, but people come from out of town. Like I've come from Pennsylvania twice to work out at the studios and stayed in a hotel, like stayed over. So people travel. So I really thought that the price would be more. And I think that it's probably about average, honestly, for a boutique fitness. But I think they still have to have something that makes them a step above, which is why I think they still need all those extra amenities that are super nice. And we'll see how it looks in another 6 months.
Yeah,
because
you're right.
that was brand new stock because they did all of this before everything went to shit.
You're right.
Right? So what happens when it runs low? Or, right now they've got the what's those paper towels that are really nice and plush, the Vanity Fair, whatever.
Right.
In 2 months they might have great value paper towels in there.
You're right. When they have to reorder.
Let's see if the paper towels follow the Peloton stock.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll just give you a different perspective, though. I mean, look, I know you guys don't think Echelon is a Peloton, but we love the brand, and the same thing with our instructor. We love them. They're our gods. They make it so if you're a home rider, you don't pay when you go to the studio.
Right.
It's free. And they give you a water bottle, or like a metal water bottle, and they make it a real nice experience because people do travel from all over the place.
Right.
And they don't charge us a dime, frankly. And their normal classes are just like other, like the same type of things, like $30 a class. I don't know, something along those lines. But and they try to make it nice. You have like the lavender scented towels, the wet towels they give you, the cool towels.
Right.
And I don't know. It's just a different experience. I always like, they charge you guys, like you pay this fee. I mean, just to come in once in a while. If you do it every day, I get it. But if you're traveling in, they make you feel like a guest.
I guess this all aligns then. That makes perfect sense. Like, so yeah, from an Echelon perspective, you get there, it's a special experience. I guess it sounds like Peloton's doing it in a different way. I guess it's just the extravagance of the facility is supposed to be, I guess that piece of it. But that makes sense. That's the one piece I always kind of did like about the connected fitness space is that each of these different brands, have their own celebrity instructors that if you're a patron of that brand, yeah, you're excited about seeing them. You'll travel to go check it out, and yeah, that part I always loved about it. But I had another question, but it left my mind. That's not unusual. So I guess I'll just move on to the next topic. So another thing that they announced as a part of this, I don't know if this was in that Bloomberg article. Again, you guys will have to help me if I get this wrong. But another thing they announced is they're increasing the Bike Plus and Tread price. So, like, I was talking mad trash about a month ago when and not just about Tonal, but another company did this too. I don't remember who it was. I know Tempo went to a leasing model, and a bunch of other people did stuff like raising the price of their hardware or finding ways to get more out of their hardware in the middle of a recession. And I was like, what the hell? Who's out here increasing hardware costs in the middle of a recession? And all of a sudden, here goes Barry. He increases the Bike Plus and Tread price. What is this? Why? What is it telling me? I thought the whole thing was about subs. Like, if it's just about getting subs, why are you making the hardware cost more? What is this?
John, what was the difference between, so when the Bike Plus first came out, it was X, right? And then they lowered it, right?
Yep.
So what's the difference now between the lowered Bike Plus? Like, what's the
It's like
difference right now?
$1,000.
Okay, so when it first dropped, it was X, and then they lowered it, and now they raised it. So what's the difference between when it first came out as opposed to now, the inflated price?
The same price.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, you
Okay.
could probably help me here, Chris, because I think it was like $24.95 or
It's
something.
the same exact price now as it was the day it was announced.
Right, and then they dropped it to $19.99 or something like that, and now it's back to exactly what it was before, $24.
But the regular bike was a higher price at the time of launch, right? Then they dropped the regular bike price. Then now they just raised the plus, and now this is probably the biggest delta or close to, right?
Yeah, the regular bike price they had dropped, two or twice, I think, prior to this, the most recent drop in price. So that had happened multiple times over the last 3 or so years. But yeah, I would say that the current delta is like $1,000, right? Yeah, that's probably the largest delta I've seen. Like, if I've got it right, and Chris, you probably can help me here. If the plus is 24 something, I think the regular bike is like 14. Do I
1445.
1445.
So just over, it's like 1,050.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I remember we had that whole debate probably 6-7 months ago or whenever it was, and we were like, if you have that big a delta, who's buying the plus? I don't know if you guys remember that. And then we got reports from John Foley, so it must have been more than 6 months ago, because this was while Foley was still at the head, and they reported in the earnings call that, well, they're not sure that was the best thing to do because they used to sell bikes at a 50-50 split between the Plus and the original, and now that's grown to like 75-25 between the bike and the bike plus, and that split isn't helping them. So yeah, it does make you go like, well, if you just created this delta again, aren't you going to go back to a split that doesn't help you? Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not a business person, so maybe I'm not supposed to get it, but I don't get it.
So I don't know if I get it, but I will say they did put out a press release. The one thing they officially announced Friday was the price increase. And they put out on their blog, which I know you read, but they put out a press release. And he talked about how it was for perception reasons. He was trying to create that premium brand again. And at the current prices, he felt it didn't reflect that. So he increased prices to put that premium price tag back on it, was what he said.
Got it. That makes sense. But I mean, but if you, yeah. But how do you do that? And then, don't you? Maybe they're not concerned about the delta. Maybe they're not concerned about that issue that John Foley ran into last year, where all of a sudden all they were selling were bikes and nobody was buying bike pluses anymore because the delta between the two prices was just too great. Like, it makes me wonder if that's just something they're not considering, or maybe they don't care, or maybe it's just a ploy to get more people to buy the regular bike. Like, that's the part that throws me. I get the idea of let's get us back to this affluent, aspirational brand, but wouldn't you raise the bike and bike plus? Or if you didn't, does that mean you're getting rid of the bike? Like, I don't get the tactic.
That's what I was thinking.
Two quick things. One, it was about $1,000 when they did this last August, so it was the same exact delta. And I think they still have bikes on bikes on bikes in warehouses that they're still trying to offload from when that earlier this year, they talked about they were in there so long there was rust on them. So I still think they just have so many bikes trying to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they don't care if the disparity drops because they got too many bikes they're trying to get rid of.
Well, I mean, they're probably paying money to store them, so they're losing money by the day that they're keeping them.
Right. Yeah. Maybe that's what, and maybe they just don't care. But I hear you as well, Sheldon. It's like, or maybe that goes away. Considering the aggressive moves that Uncle Barry's making, I mean, could be.
Yeah, it's all contradictory. It's like, okay, we need more cash. Okay, great. So let's raise the prices. Okay, great, but let's not raise the price on the lowest price piece of equipment we have. Okay, so do they want to bring entry people in? I guess is that it? Then okay, what's this premium brand nonsense?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
It's a little, smarter people than me are probably figuring it out, but it just seems a little contradictory. The only thing I can think of is they still have a big inventory to get rid of. They're trying to get it out the door, and then when they do, they're going to obsolete the thing. And then I still think they're going to start moving towards the whole concept of letting other people use their tech and just connect to it. And we'll start seeing. I think subs is the way they're going to go. Content production, the bikes and the treads and all that stuff. Great add-on, won't be core business.
Well, he said that.
So what was the
article.
price?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What was the price of the tread when they released it originally? Because that seems to be the one that a lot more people are upset about.
Oh, I don't remember.
$24.95.
What is it now?
$34.95.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
Yikes.
I don't.
So if they bring the Tread Plus back, where do we think that puts the price point?
$8,000.
Oh, Jesus.
But you know what? Listen,
That's why mine is never going back.
Oh my God.
Another company just released a slat belt. It has more bells and whistles than the Peloton Tread Plus, but their base is $17,000.
Hold on.
And that's a non-commercial in-home gym.
Right.
I mean, tread.
Wait a minute.
Hey, Danielle.
And the base is $17,000. So, I mean,
dang.
Better question is, what do you think this means for the rower price?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think they can. Honestly, probably $2,500.
You're never seeing that rower. It is never seeing the light of day.
Well, I had the same question.
Sheldon, I didn't pour my drink yet. Don't start.
I had the same question. Did Chris I think, Chris, you said that under one of the posts, and I went, oh my gosh, I know. Like, if they're saying they're trying to get back to that affluent, they're trying to get back to that aspirational brand, then how do you pull out a rower that costs $1,500? Does the rower have to cost like $2,500 3,000.
I think it's going to be $2,500. I really do. I don't think it's going to be under $2,000. I
I
definitely
agree.
don't think
Do
the
you
rower is
live
going to be
on?
under
No, it's
$2,000.
not.
Yeah.
Well, because originally the price everyone was thinking the price would be like $1,500,
Right.
but I think it's going to be $2,500. I don't think that they're going to release a rower for less than $2,500.
The other
Unless it
Uncle
goes.
B's going to recover that cash on developing this thing. It's obviously it's taking forever to develop, so it's going to cost an arm and a leg. They aren't going to sell anywhere near as many rowers as they are bikes. It's either never seen the light of day or it's going to cost a fortune.
And is it
I
the
think
rower or the rower plus?
I asked that the last time. I was like, are they going to release 2 models of the rower?
Oh, did you
But
get a new sound effect? What was that?
That was the joke sound effect. You know what I mean? I got all kinds of
You
sound
working
effects.
on your soundboard?
I think if they do pre-orders though, and they only build to what they're going to sell, that's a much better option than them having a bunch of stock in a warehouse because they
You're
built
really
all of
giving
these
them too much
rowers.
credit.
Well, I mean, I've heard that they're going to take pre-orders this time. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think that's a much better thought process is you have some already built, clearly, because people are beta testing them. And you've got to have something, right? You got to have some built. But don't go crazy and build a shit ton of rowers because, honestly, the most people who are probably going to buy them are people who are already Peloton people. I don't know if non-Peloton people will buy a Peloton rower when they have other less expensive options. You know, if they're not familiar with the Peloton platform and instructors and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be us diehard Peloton fans that buy the rower anyway. So take the pre-orders and build based off of that.
How much is the Hydro, and like how much is like the Hydro and like the Concept 2?
Concept 2 is like $1,000.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive. The
It's
new
not bad.
Hydro I think is it 1,800? The original is like 2,500.
Right.
Does it matter, Nicole?
And the
You're going to
wave
buy
is
it
like
regardless.
1,500 or
And
something.
the 3 of them. Don't worry about it.
The Concept 2 has nothing, though. It gives you numbers and nothing else.
It has a connective. It does have some things you can connect to it. It does have connectivity, but it's just not the same, right? Their content thing isn't the same, obviously. But it does have connectivity. I mean, honestly, I have a rower. It's like you don't need all the things you're not high fiving people while you're rowing. It ain't happening, and it's very simple. I mean, put the class on a screen and row.
Right.
Your leaderboards don't really matter in rowing, frankly. You could do meters, I guess, but I don't know. It's a different experience in a bike.
You know, back to what we were saying earlier. Oh, and I want to bring in Akari as well. Back to what we were saying earlier. If we were talking about apples to apples, companies trying to compete in the connected fitness space based on price, I would be going, okay, yeah, it's got to be somewhere around $2,000, little more, a little less. But because they just said, no, we're getting back to the affluent brand, we're getting back to our aspirational model that we were at back in 2017, 18. Since they just said that, and they just now have the tread at $3,400, I'm struggling to believe it'll be around $2,000, the rower.
Hydro Wave is $1,495, $1,500.
Right. Yeah, I don't see it. But anyway, what's going on, Kari?
Hey, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
I wanted to come up and talk about the separation it feels like that Barry's going to create with building the higher prices or going back to the higher prices.
Yeah.
'Cause I know we talked about certified pre-owned or used bikes, and I know that those are still going to be a possibility. I think they're $900. I've seen them on a post somewhere. And then if you think about it from the standpoint of the 3 tiers, you could have the used bike, and the bike plus. And if you continue to have trade-ins, you may even be able to trade your bike in for a rower. Who knows? I mean, they may offer that. And then that's going to create this opportunity for them to potentially make double on what they buy the bike, they trade the bikes in for. So I don't know. I think it gives room for that 3-tier approach.
It gives room for the 3-tier approach. Yeah. So wait a minute. I don't know if I got all that, Kari. Are you expecting though that? Are you expecting that the rower will have different pricing be priced and have different models, or I don't quite get what you were presenting.
Yeah, like it's already been done with the bike. So we have a bike
And you're
minus,
thinking that,
a bike plus, and then a CPO bike.
and you're thinking that they may come out with, like they did with the tread, and it'll be the tread plus version of the rower, and then they will
why
just
not?
subsequently start dropping. Okay, now here is our Hydro Wave, Peloton version of Hydro Wave, and now instead of being $4,000 or whatever they price this thing at, it's $1,500, and it competes now in the space with all these other brands that we don't see as comparable to what we have. That type of deal.
Yeah.
But what kind of bells and whistles can they put in a rower to differentiate between, like, okay, a swivel screen, an auto
Water.
resistance,
Sound effects.
life vest?
They can deliver Adrian with every row.
That's
Adrian
exactly
shows
what I
up.
was
Comes with the bus.
They drop Adrian off.
Actual water and sound effects. Coco.
Water mists from the screen.
Actual water mist. Exactly. Wind. They can have wind.
Really, like, how much can you, like, out of the ones that are out right now? Like, you have base models. Like, let's just say the Echelon's like a base model.
Mm-hmm.
But like the higher end ones, what are the bells and whistles that come with that? That makes it
I
so
have
much
no
better.
idea.
Take the live classes or
It's
like
the mechanism.
interaction
It's
out of it.
actually it's the rowing mechanism, the resistance mechanism is that's Hydro's big innovation per se. Is there actually feels very, very much like water, and you could say Concept 2 is kind of the gold standard, and all that is Concept 2 is just a fan, by the way. It doesn't even have like a resistance except for air resistance. So that really is kind of bare bones, but that's what most rowing people use because it feels just like rowing. In terms of the bells and whistles, yeah, I mean, does it fold up pretty and get out of the way? Does it have a nice big screen on it? How's the speakers on it? Is it quiet when you row? Right, all those things are what people care about when they buy a rower. And then the content obviously is important as well for those that want the connected fitness. But most people that have rowers, a lot of them are just doing like I'm just cranking on the water type thing. So we'll see. I think you're right. The differentiation is fairly minimal. It's going to be a content battle for those that have it. But again, I don't know if you need a Peloton rower. I'm not feeling it. But anyways, we'll see how they do.
Hey, let me bring in Marcos.
So I was just going to say real quick, for me, the reason why I want a Peloton rower over the other rower is because of the content and because of the instructors. Because if I'm just going to row, that's boring as hell. I need the energy that the Peloton instructors bring to the platform.
But you can do it on an iPad.
Right.
I mean,
why do you need a Peloton
TV
rower
screen?
for that?
Just use the app.
Because I've used the app on the treadmill and I hate it. That was one of the. I had a perfectly working good treadmill and I wanted a Peloton treadmill because I hated having to use the app. The things don't match up all the time. The numbers don't always transfer. When I was using the app and running on my regular treadmill, my miles would frequently not record. So I wasn't getting credit for my distance that I was going. So yeah, you can use the app and that's a great alternative for some people. But for me, I was hella annoyed using the app and a basic treadmill. So I was like insistent that I get a Peloton treadmill because I wanted it all to be in one.
Yeah, I get that. I got some more on that, but let me bring in Marcos. What's going on, Marcos?
Hey, John, how are you?
Doing good.
Chris mentioned it because I was thinking, I'm like, with all this price changes, what is it going to do to the rower? So that was one point. The other point is, I wonder if they're going to do something to the Bike Plus because I got the OG bike when I first, got into Peloton in 2020 with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And then when the Plus came out, I was like, oh, this, the monitor and all that. So I got rid of my old one, got the new one.
Right.
But now that I've been using it for all this time, I'm like, is there really an appeal to the new one? Because now the Apple Watch works through the app, right? So you don't technically need the Bike Plus to use the Apple Watch.
Right.
The speakers are awesome, but you could hook up a Bluetooth speaker to it.
Right.
The swivel, there's a third-party swivel thing you can put on, and the screen will swivel. And then the part that I thought was awesome was the locking in with the class. Mm-hmm. But if you're stronger than the class, then it doesn't really work because every time you lock in and you put your resistance up, it brings it back down on the next, cycle. So that I haven't used it, right? Because it usually is for like the average user on it.
Right.
So now it's like, what is the benefit of the Plus? Like, you really want to spend all that extra money? Like, what do you actually get out of it?
I'm with you. Like I have both the bike and the Bike Plus, right? I have both of them, and yeah, I mean, Erica just rides the bike. She's like, I don't want that upgrade. When we were about to upgrade both of our bikes, she didn't want the upgrade, so she didn't. And I'm the techie guy. I wanted the upgrade, so I got the Bike Plus. The only thing that I can say that for me, I guess it's cool. I still don't know if it was worth the upgrade, but I guess it's cool, is that I'm not questioning whether or not the power output would vary if I went to another Bike Plus, right? I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be the same because the way this is driven isn't the same way it was driven on the bike. That's the only thing that is of value. So from that perspective, I agree with you. I don't know how valuable is any of the other stuff. Like, I don't know. You're right. I hear you.
But John, what's the difference between an Apple iPhone 12 and a 13?
A lot.
Okay.
The camera difference. Listen, as a person who takes 1,000,001 selfies, the camera improvements of every iPhone is remarkable. Just saying. That's just saying.
Okay. I hear you. I think it's just the stickiness is really what Peloton wants to be able to do, is find a way to keep people in the zone, continuously having product and also continuing using the app and the content. But the stickiness is going to be the big thing.
With that said, though, I have an OG bike, and I wouldn't upgrade to the Bike Plus because
y'all can pry my OG
bike works good.
Bike from my cold dead hands. I paid that shit off. You ain't getting more money from me.
No more money. Not even if you.
First of all, like someone said in the chat, Peloton out here charging student loan prices for their equipment. So absolutely not. I paid that ish off, and I wanted to throw myself a party. So no, thank you. I love my OG bike. I have no problems with it. And there were a slew of issues with like the seat not staying in place when the first round of Bike Plus came out. And I was like, I ain't got no problem.
It wasn't just the seat. It wasn't just the seat. It was the handlebars too.
So many issues. Mm-hmm. And when you go to the studio, the rider bikes are all OG bikes retrofitted with the special studio monitor. So people who have Bike Pluses didn't know how to set up the bike seat when they went to the studio.
That is hilarious.
They were like,
I didn't even think about that. But
what is this? And I'm like, it's the old bike.
Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but years and years ago, Peloton started getting into like this commercial bike that they were putting in like hotels. It was like a gray bike, and the handlebars had like this, backward, forward, where you could adjust it, push it forward and backwards, and they used a different mechanism for how the seat slid, and it was wobbly as hell, and it was like, it didn't turn out right. And then they dropped the Bike Plus, and I heard all the same stuff about how it's, it's all wobbly and everything. And I had the same problem when I got it. It didn't feel as sturdy as the regular bike. I still go back to our regular bike, and that is the most sturdy. That's the best. It feels like the most sturdy, most
period.
Best one. And it's like they delivered something that was innovative and was a great product and pushed them forward in the space. But everything that came after that from a bike perspective, just, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. But I hear you.
I think I'm an outlier. I'm a Bike Plus person. I had the OG bike.
Yeah.
As a road rider and triathlete, it drove me bananas not knowing. I mean, I'd ride on my bike and I'm like, I know I don't average 22 miles an hour outside. Like, this is insane. So I just felt like it wasn't accurate. And in my head, I just knew that it was off. And I have two houses, and this is very much a first world problem, but I love that the bikes are exactly calibrated the same. And I'm sure it's just a tiny niche market of outdoor riders who really want their numbers to match up the power. But I do think there's something to the Bike Plus, and I would buy it again and again. I could not go back to the variability of the output on the regular bike, and that's just me.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're saying. Kind of aligns to what I was suggesting. That that's the part of it that I really liked. The power meter output part of it, like that I knew that if I was on another Bike Plus, that I felt as though if I was on another Bike Plus that it would be it was a common metric, it was a common output. So,
and to be honest, I wasn't sure that it was actually going to be true,
right?
Until I got my second bike, and I can move seamlessly between my two, and they're 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I have two tonals. One of my tonals feels heavier than the other. It's not exactly the same, which is interesting. But the Bike Plus, spot on.
The bigger question for me, though, is from a market perspective. Like we were talking earlier about the price differential now being $1,000 between the Bike and the Bike Plus. The bigger question to me now, though, is like that's how you feel about it, Amy, and I kind of feel a similar way. But from a market perspective, is the market really going to go, yeah, I'll pay $1,000 more for power meter pedals? Like I don't know if they will.
Hopefully they're going to come up with the next generation of the Bike Plus, like, I don't know who was saying, Kari or Marcos, about this. How sticky is it going to be? Are they going to have an innovation like the iPhone where to Danielle or myself or someone who's super techie, that the phone, the increase in the phone or the camera on the phone, it does make it worth it to spend the extra money. I don't know.
What if they started to differentiate the content?
Ooh.
Started to split the content. I mean, even the subscription price, it's $50 for the Bike Plus, $45 for the Plus, but you get more content on the Bike Plus.
Yeah, maybe if they did something
Sheldon
like that.
with the business brain.
To me, it seemed like they'd have to do something because based on what we saw last year, this type of differential is going to cause it to be that very few people are going to be buying the Bike Plus.
So, I do agree, and now that it's $1,000 difference, you're right. Yeah. It wasn't when I got mine.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, some wild stuff. Anyway, all right, I'll move us past that, and we'll jump into the next topic. Next one I have I think I got this from Chris. Chris broke this. That all of a sudden we heard that there were existing members that were like, hold up, you just raised the price of the tread by like $800 or whatever it was. I was about to buy a tread. And so then Peloton was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll give you until August 19th. You can buy the tread, at the lower price, even though we already raised the price. Then Chris breaks the news like a day or two later? I see Chris breaks the news that, Peloton decided they ain't doing that no more. So it's over right now. They ain't, the new price is the new price and no more honoring the old price. I thought when I saw the first news break that they were honoring the whole price, I started thinking, well, is this perfect timing for a person like me that still has the Tread Plus to go, you know what? I could just go and buy the Tread at this lower price, send the Tread Plus back, and now the difference between the amount I kind of keep in my pocket is higher because I just got it at this lower price. I do it before August 19th, right? But that window closed real quick. It sounds like the reasoning, though, was because there were too many people taking advantage of it. Do I have that right, Chris?
So you have all that right. So it was Saturday when people started finding out that they'd, give them an $800 rebate. Right. And by Monday, early morning, mid-afternoon, people were starting to hear, oh no, we've shut that down. We got orders that, we're ending that. Yeah. The one thing, so I initially thought it was because, so many people were jumping on it to get the discount.
Right.
Some people had been told it was potentially because I think they were saying some people might then try to resell it. Mm-hmm. So people might be trying to take advantage of it and resell it and make a profit. But technically it was only for current members.
Right.
So that should have cut down on that sum.
Oh, you're right.
So my question was this an official Peloton announcement that they would honor that price? Or was that something that was told to sales associates so that if it was like someone called and said, hey, I had this on, my radar, it was in my cart, I was going to buy it, didn't get around to doing it, and then they were able to give them the price. But then that word got out to the general public. So then Peloton was like, hey, cut this out because this wasn't supposed to be like general public knowledge.
I don't know.
Because I feel like I didn't see it officially posted anywhere. I saw it posted by random people.
Oh,
I never saw Peloton saying that it was going to honor that price until the 19th. So I kind of feel like people screwed other people by posting about it all over social media.
Right.
And then you have all of these gazillions of sales lined up for this lower price because they were going to call and like have an issue. Like, oh, I was going to buy it. Well, you really weren't, but you're just saying it so you can get the rebate, get the refund. And now you screw people who really were going to buy it.
That's fair.
It's like when
Peloton,
you share a code. You know what I mean? Like
Peloton never officially posted it, but I also feel like they don't officially post a lot of things.
Right.
That part.
Yeah.
That part, again, Peloton, TMZ, the Peloton Oracle has spoken. The fact that there's literally people on staff who rely on Pello Buddy to get their news about their company says something.
You know what? That is no lie. Exactly. But, here's what I'm thinking, though. When I heard all this go down, I'm thinking, okay, let's say there were a bunch of people trying to take advantage of this. Why would Peloton care? I mean, you were trying to sell each tread before you couldn't sell them. All of a sudden, you do this okie doke, the price is higher. Oh, no, except for you guys. And then they start buying them. Like, why do you care? Let them buy them. I don't get it.
because I think the refund $800 for, depending on what some of these sales reps had lined up, that's a lot of money. And they're already struggling, right? Like, they don't have an abundance of cash, and they're not, like, rolling in the dough at this point. And so to all of a sudden be like, okay, we have all these sales, but we're going to refund each person $800. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of money for something that they never said they would really do in the first place.
I'm saying that we're talking about something that happened overnight. Like one day, the tread was whatever it was, $2,500, and the next day it's $34. Like literally, we're talking about overnight. So one day is $2,500 and you were struggling to sell them. The next day you say it's $3,400, but you allow it to still be sold for $2,500 to certain select people. I mean, you just got people to start buying something for the price it was yesterday. Like right now, they weren't buying it. Now you got them buying it. Like to me, I don't know. It sounded like a diabolical Lex Luthor kind of thing. I was like, let them buy it. What's up?
I mean, I see that too, because it's like you weren't getting any money before, right? So you were at zero.
You were at
and
zero.
Now you got $2,500.
And that was the price yesterday anyway.
And be happy,
right? And
so I totally get that, but I also see how they're saying, oh well, these people are going to buy it anyway. Well, they probably weren't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, probably weren't going to buy it at the raised rate. So you might as well let them have that $800 back and
yeah, I don't get it.
Suck it up. But
you have
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of goodwill now.
What's that, Chris?
You lost a lot of goodwill.
Yeah,
over how people feel treated now over it.
Right, that's what I think too. You lost a little.
What goodwill do they even have left, Chris?
Fair.
Well, anyways, but what's really funny about this whole thing is I wouldn't have known about either of these things. Well, that's not news for me. You guys tell me about a lot of news that I wouldn't have known of otherwise. But I wouldn't have known about either of these things. I learned about both of them from Chris. Like, oh, wait a minute, they're offering what? Oh, wait a minute, they ain't offering that no more? That's funny. Anyway, what else we got on here? Oh, this, you know what? I threw this on here because I just had questions. This is me. I just had questions. Because, there was a time when I first entered the Peloton community and all I did was 45-minute classes. That's all I did. It was 45-minute rides. I didn't do nothing but 45-minute rides. Matter of fact, back then, people acted like if it wasn't 45 minutes, it wasn't even a class. That was like a warm-up, right?
Yeah, but you didn't join the class until it was like 5 minutes in.
See, we ain't talking about that,
they shortened them because they were like, John Mills can't hang for 45 minutes.
We ain't talking about
He
that
could
though.
watch a class for 45 minutes though.
He
He could
can.
sit and
He's very
watch
good
it.
at watching
Exactly.
classes.
Exactly. I mean, I
I don't
watched
know.
them.
John would come from behind.
I sure
He
would.
would come in 5 minutes late
Yes,
and
sure
then
would.
crush you.
That's right. I come in late, but I would get my 45 minutes worth in 39 minutes. You know what I mean? But
So I have thoughts on a 45-minute class,
okay,
right?
okay.
My first thought was that, one, it makes Peloton look better if people stack two 20-minute classes instead of taking one 45-minute class, right? Because weren't they reporting those numbers at one point somewhere?
Yeah, but I
I feel
don't.
like you told me that.
They used to report it like that was a big thing for John Foley. It was a big thing. He would post like, how many people are taking class. I don't get the impression that Uncle Barry cares much about that. I don't remember if they referenced those numbers in the last earnings call. I have to go back and look. But I know they streamlined their whole earnings doc, and I don't know that he really cared much about that. So I'm not sure if it matters to them anymore or not. I don't know.
Okay. So that was my first thought, was that they cared about the numbers and that made them look better because people are taking two classes versus one class, right?
Right.
But then the other thing on the flip side of that is that when I make the BGM swarm schedule, I can tell you without a doubt that when I put a 45-minute class on the schedule, far fewer people show up than when I put a 20-minute class on the schedule. I don't know if it's because it's time constraints. I don't know if it's because they think it's going to be too hard. I don't know what it is. But on a swarm, if I have 15 people show up for a 20-minute class, I might only have 5 show up to take a 45-minute class. Like, that's how drastic the numbers are.
Okay, and this is what everybody always says.
Some people just don't like the 45-minute classes.
I hate a 45-minute class. Hate it.
See, this is what everyone tells. Okay. I get all these conflicting messages. So, yeah, I remember it was always 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden, you notice Peloton started doing less and less and less over the years. It got less and less and less. And then everything was a 30-minute class. And then I started hearing all these complaints from people. We don't have these 45-minute classes. What's going on? This is horrible. And then the last comment I saw that triggered the thought in my mind was an individual said, well, if you go into a boutique fitness class, that's going to be 45 minutes. And so I get your point, Danielle. It's like maybe like the analytics or whatever they're looking at makes it very clear that it's just less people truly that are doing that. So what I'm hearing from you is that the people I'm hearing complaining, those are just the outliers. Those aren't.
But if I'm going to work out for 60 minutes or 45 minutes, I'm more likely to do 2 20s and a 10 or 2 half-hour classes than to pick a 60-minute class or a 45-minute class. I don't know why it is. I don't know if I just like the variety of picking 2 different people and 2 different music genres or 2 different themes. But I will still work out for 45 minutes. But I like to, have like 3 20-minute workouts just for the variety. I feel like mentally it's easier for me to absorb.
I agree with Tammy on that. Like, I think it's, for me personally, it's easier to stack shorter classes and, switch them up than to do a straight like 60-minute class or something. But on the flip side, when I used to go to a gym and work out, my spin classes were always 45 minutes to 60. Like, I've never taken a spin class in studio that was less than 45 minutes.
Right.
Well, that's not true. Gold's Gym used to have a lunchtime express that was 30 minutes. So if you went in at 12 o'clock, it was lunchtime express. You were 30 minutes, you were in and out, right? Hit it, quit it, and say you did it, like Allie always says. But other than that, classes were always 45 minutes to 60. But at home, I like Tammy, I like being able to be like, oh, I'm going to do 20 of this. Maybe I'll do 20 of Allie. I'll do 20 of Robin. I'll do 20 of somebody else. And then I've done an hour of spinning, but it doesn't feel like an hour of spinning.
So this is what I think, Danielle. Part of it is because when you stack them, you get more breaks because it's, that you'll get at minimum like 3 warm-ups, right? And 3 cool downs. If you're taking, let's say if it's an hour class, or if you're doing 3 15-minute classes rather than 1 45. But to me, this is reflective of how many people like actually did boutique spinning before the pandemic or before Peloton versus people whose introduction to spinning was with Peloton. Because every boutique spinning place that I've ever gone to, the classes were 45 minutes. Soul Cycle was 45 minutes. Flywheel was 45 minutes. Like pretty much every single boutique spin class I've ever taken. Equinox classes were 15 minutes. I have never taken a 30-minute in-person class before Peloton.
That's what I thought. Exactly what you're saying, Nisi, is what I thought when that last comment came at me. But I want to get back to that. But let me bring in Shani real quick. What's going on, Shani? You there? If you're talking, you're on mute.
This is my first time here, so I was just wanting to say something about that. Like they said that the offering of classes has like waned down a lot. I mean, I really didn't notice it too much until like recently, where they don't even have enough 20 or 30-minute classes for us to take.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can go to on demand, of course, but I know some people like the newest and the latest and the greatest. So I don't know like what the metrics were for, like what are they following to bring like these new schedules and stuff. I don't know if that was going to come up in your topic, but that's something that I wanted to say about like what metrics or reports are they using to like make these new schedules with 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock when people are like going back to school with their kids and stuff. So that was my thoughts.
No, I hear you, Shani. I appreciate it. Yeah, the schedule was something we had talked about. I agree with you. I'm not quite sure what I know they were trying to just kind of set like some standard times for certain disciplines, but I don't know. A lot of people have been like questioning the schedule. I don't know. But I want to get back to something you said, Sheldon, too. I wanted to ask you about. You said, I hate 45-minute classes. Okay, I just kind of get back on that line. When I started doing this, my Erica brought me into like spinning, and she was doing it at a boutique, and I went with her, and it just wasn't my thing. And then we got the Peloton, and I started doing it at home, and all I knew was the 45-minute classes, so that's what I did. Mm-hmm. But as they started giving me more classes, and like these folks are talking about more variety, something happened, because now I can't stand a 45-minute class either. I'm just like you. Now I can't stand it. So now it makes me wonder, like, has Connected Fitness made it evolve to a point that all of us now want something more out of it, and 45 minutes is just too much of the same thing for too long? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think to me, it's just a weird time. Look, 20 or 30, I can hammer. 60 is a nice, strong endurance ride. 45 just can't make its mind up. That's how I look at it.
45 used to be luxurious. We used to get like deliciously long warm-ups.
So hate it.
Like I used to, if you do a Mount Ropers or an Alley 45, you would get like a 10-minute warm-up. Like that shit is delicious. So that way you don't have to worry about it. And then you can go into your 30 minutes of interval training, right? Like I love the 45 minute Tabata format because
you still do?
You get such a long. I love them.
Oh, wow.
I'm the 45-minute hoe that does it when Danielle puts on the swarm. Like I do them.
I'm with Sheldon.
That
45 minutes is confused.
It's challenging if you don't. But I really think the 45 minutes are for you to have a 10 to 15 minute warm up. Like those 45-minute formats, that is usually the class plan. 20 minutes is too long, so that's why the warm ups are a minute, if that. That's why sometimes they tell you just take a warm-up class beforehand. And they like to, play, like what is, Danielle likes to call Allie a time bender because she will squeeze as many intervals out of you in an absurdly short amount of time. If it's a longer class plan, it puts, like, I feel like she puts fewer intervals in there. Whereas she's like 20 minutes, hit it and quit it, we say we did it, or ain't nobody got time for that. She's like, I need to give you the biggest bang for your buck, which means you're going to be tachycardic by the end of those 20 minutes. I'm over here thinking, do I have a heart attack? Is my COVID relapsing? Do I have long COVID? Because we don't get a long warm-up no more.
First of all, you get COVID once a month. Second of all, I'm just the opposite with strength, though. Like with strength, give me the 45-minute strength class because I know I'm going to get like good 90-second, 2-minute recoveries. Other than this catastrophe I just took like 2 hours ago, it was like a 20-minute Jess Sims glutes and legs, and there was no rest. There was like 15
some of those
seconds
classes,
cumulative
they
rest.
they pack a
Well,
lot
she never
into
lets
that.
anyone rest.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Even
Tammy, stop
the
complaining. You
45-minute
asked for
classes, she
this.
won't let.
I'm not complaining. I'm just making an observation. Longer classes equal more rest.
That
It's
part.
it's
Not
math.
for
It's like
Justin's.
You
right.
get more recovery, you get a longer warm up. I just find it more like self-contained versus the smaller class stacks where like I'm warming up 6 times for what? For what, bitch?
But
I
get
don't need to do
this.
that.
But get this.
And
We
the long,
already know that the 45-minute class in general people are not taking. Like we already know that. So aside from like what I think or what you guys think about it, like why do we think that is? And that's where my mind is like I think it's because of like what Sheldon said. I think something with connected fitness and the variety of what you can get out of these smaller classes and the type of different things you can do and the multiple things you can do. Oh, I can do a run and I can do a ride and I can do a stretch and I can do. I think the variety and all that made people go, I ain't spending 45 minutes doing this one thing. Like we know they've done something. I'm just trying to figure out what did they do. And that's what it sounds like.
I think it's that, John, that like we are such a culture of like we have such short attention spans that I think 45 minutes with one person in one class is too much for some people. So I think it's definitely part of that. But on the flip side, I think a lot of newer people, especially with Tabata classes, the 45 minutes Tabata classes, they will tell me all the time, they're so hard, I can't do them. And I'm like, you've got that backwards. The 45-minute Tabatas are easier than a 20-minute Tabatas.
Yes.
Because in a 20-minute Tabata, you might get a 3-minute warm-up if you're lucky. And then you're straight into the class and you are working the entire time. There's no cool down. It is work, 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 work. Like Allie will generally put like 30 to 32 intervals in a 20-minute Tabata class. Whereas in like Steph was saying, in a 45-minute, you got a 10-minute warm-up. And then you have these, 30 or 32 intervals. But newer people seem to think, oh, it's 45 minutes, it's going to be too hard.
Right.
So I'll go with the short version of that class. And they are completely mistaken. And whenever I tell them this, they think I'm lying. And I'm like, I'm really not.
But
I'm telling you the truth.
that makes sense.
But I think they default to the short.
I think that makes sense. But I think the dynamic of less people liking 45-minute classes can't just be that because I'm not newer and I used to like 45-minute classes, but now I don't. Right? Like
no, I think
What
it's
about
both. I think it's the combination of us having short attention spans,
yeah.
and then the people who think that the 45 minutes is harder. So I think it's a combination of the two has just made the 45-minute classes like almost obsolete in a way.
Right. Let me bring Janetta in. What's
But I don't
going on,
think
Janetta?
Hey, what's up, putas? Listen, I'm running. I had to stop this. I was walking until you can get me on and I can say my 2 cents and then I can go back to run. I had to do 4 miles.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, how's everybody doing?
All is
everybody's
good.
Doing well.
All is good.
This bitch right here is mad. I like hell because we're doing it sugar-free in September. I started that shit today. Okay? I started today because I don't want to be pissed in September. So today, black coffee, like Jay said, the black coffee tastes like ass. I don't know how she tastes of ass. I don't know idea. And then I'm getting rid of alcohol because, I'm training. And I try so hard to convince my coach because I'm paying her that my glass of wine once in a while is okay, like every other day, almost every day. And I was like, no, I got to give it up. She's going to be happy because I gave it up on my own. I don't like people telling me what to do. And that's why I don't have a coach. It's like, this comes from me, bitch. Now I'm not drinking only because I decided not to drink. Okay, one thing, the bike class.
Yeah.
That shit, I love it because.
Oh, you like it?
Because I like it because I think the output is real.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing I do not like about the bike is the freaking seat. It slides down. They changed me. They send me a new pole. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work. They need to fix that shit. And I don't know how to fix it. If anybody knows something out there in YouTube that somebody's doing that I can make it not slide down, I would appreciate it. Please send me something. What else, Sheldon? What are you talking about? That we like doing like 2 different how you call it, like paying 2 different membership and shit. What's the matter with you, Sheldon?
I don't pay 2 memberships.
No, but you said that's an idea. Like pay, people should pay a little. You remember you said one time ago,
For
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like
yeah.
a
different.
long time
No,
ago.
I'm just thinking how is Peloton going to differentiate between the two products if they really want to or not? But
No,
that's
no,
how
no.
I
We
would
gotta.
do it.
Hey, dude, we gotta keep it together. It's like sending your kid to private school, or public school, kind of thing. It's like, hey, I need to keep up with my people, okay? Oh, now Janetta
Well,
can afford that
we
membership.
already know. We already know. Didn't Uncle Barry say in that article? He said they're talking about doing freemium, like where they're going to have content that people could just get to, and they don't even have a subscription.
Yes, if somebody's willing to work out, those people that have their bikes and tread and shit in their home and they don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you have medical insurance and I don't have medical insurance. You pay for me too. Do you know that? I mean, that's what we do here. So, that's gonna show. Okay.
Yeah, now you talking about health economics on the call. Girl.
Listen, everybody's listening here. Nobody's talking. One more thing before I do my 4 miles.
Okay.
So, what was it? Oh my God, this old mind of mine. I totally fucking forgot. Oh, the 45-minute classes.
Yeah, you do 45-minute classes?
I am fucking what for? I only do I only do Saturday 60.
Right.
Or no. I do Sundays with Marcel, the 60-minute classes, only because it's endurance and because I'm training.
Right.
But otherwise, I think that they're not doing that. And Sheldon is right. I think it is because a lot of people have multiple equipments, and it's easy for you to go on the bike for 20 minutes, go on the tread for 30 minutes, and then go doing strength training for 20 or 30 minutes. I think that's the reason, and I'm with him on that one. Anything else?
I think you're right.
That's it. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna keep listening. I'm here. Keep talking and I listen.
Wait, I just
thank you for listening, bitch.
no. Wait, hold on, Janetta. You're not done. Are you the one responsible for this no sugar shit in September?
Carissa Bodden.
No. It was Carissa, and the bitch, she put it on us, okay? Because she knows we can take it. She knows we can take it. So she's like, oh, I'm gonna blame those motherfuckers. They came up with the sugar. I was watching her. She came up with that shit.
Wait a minute, you guys are doing no sugar in September or till September?
Apparently, but now
No.
sugar has turned into like no alcohol, no carbs, which I'm not down with any of that.
Wait a minute.
No fun.
No fun.
No, not all of us are doing the crazy train. Some of us are doing no added sugar. No added sugar.
John, the last
Just
thing I heard.
Minardi said, what is this we were talking about? That we are not speaking French. You are doing that. That's not me.
She's doing that. We are doing. Listen,
The last thing I heard is that they're not eating anything anymore. They cut out so much shit that they're just like, we're just not gonna eat. IV to the
They're
veins.
drinking water and eating lettuce flakes. That's all.
IV straight to the veins. That's it.
Bitches, listen to me. You guys were doing so good, and now we're talking about sugar, and you all talking.
I mean, I just learned how to make Dominican rice, and I'm not cutting it out of my diet because I just perfected it.
I know, me neither. It's not about carb, you guys. It's not about carb. It's totally just pure sugar. Pure sugar. You know that spoon of sugar you put in your coffee?
Yeah.
That's the sugar we're talking about. We're talking about shit that have a bunch of sugar, like a cake, like a donut, like things like that. It's not, no. Nobody's giving, you can eat a fruit instead of eating a donut. And we're talking about just eating the fruits, the veggies, your carb. I'm not giving up my rice and my beans and my pasta. Are you kidding? No. But the alcohol, I have to. I mean, I have to. It's for the sake of my training. Shit, I'm mad now. I'm not even on call today. And I cannot fucking drink it because I started today. Nobody pushed me. I decided that today was the day.
Hold on. It's August 16th. It's not September. Check your calendar. And any alcohol that you're not consuming, you can send my way.
No, I will. So listen, I know I have to run a half at the end of the month on the 28th here in Santa Rosa, and I want to be ready. I know that I have to put the work in, and you guys know me. If I say I'm not doing it, I'm not gonna do it. I have to put the work in whatever I do, and I know that if I stop the drinking shit, I'm gonna do better. I'm just saying. It's just me. Nobody has to do this. You guys don't have to do this. Keep fucking drinking, alcoholic motherfuckers.
We will. Thank you.
You know what? I used to never drink black coffee either until Erica, this is like a year or so ago. Then she got me on like this no sugar, low sugar thing. And then I had to start, she had me drinking this black coffee in the morning. It took like a long time. Eventually I got used to it. Now I don't ever put sugar in it. But it took forever. But I hear you, it did taste like ass for a while.
More sugar for your grits.
Yeah, and I can save that sugar for the grits
The
anyway.
sugar's being rationed in the Mills household. So you
Oh
either
my
get it for your
God,
coffee
John.
or your grits.
I met someone when I was on vacation who put sugar in their grits.
Oh, they related
I'm
to
not the only
Danielle.
one. See, I'm not the only one. Exactly.
Well, they were. I don't know if they were related. They were of a different ethnic background.
Okay.
Danielle, I can't. Look at you being like gracious. Girl, just say they were white. Just say they were white.
See, I ain't
And
the
they were
only
from
one.
Pittsburgh. They weren't even from down south. We were in Virginia Beach, and a guy comes up to me at the table, and he's at the breakfast buffet thing. And he's like, "So have you had these grits?" I'm like, "No, I didn't eat them. Like they make me really full, so I generally don't eat them."
Yeah.
And he's like, "They have cheese in them." He's like, "Well, my dad always puts sugar in them." I'm like, "Shut up! Your dad puts sugar in his grits?"
That's right. That's a smart man right
He's
there.
like, "Yeah."
DNA
He
test
always
is
puts sugar in
warranted
them.
immediately.
I
That's a
was like,
smart man
"No
I bet his
way!" My
dad's name was
friend puts
John.
sugar in his grits. Well, no, because this guy was probably about the same age as John. But these had cheese in them, so he ended up not putting sugar in them. Because I was like, I don't know. I think sugar with cheese and grits would be kind of weird.
Nah, I've done both. I've done both together with the cheese
Oh my
and
God,
the
John,
sugar.
stop.
I've done both.
Stop.
Put the cheese in
That's
it, just
disgusting.
melts right in there when it's hot. Throw that sugar over top. I've done both. Yes.
That's disgusting.
I gotta know
but
this
yeah,
dude.
I totally forgot to tell you that story.
Okay, see, I'm not alone. I knew I wasn't alone. See, y'all was on Erica's side trying to act like I was alone. I wasn't alone. What's going on,
Well, I
Lavalis?
was gonna. Hey guys, I was gonna say the 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm out on loan classes. One, my attention span, like Danielle said, nope, I'm not. No, it's not that I think it's too hard because I've done them before. If they're on challenges or swarms that Danielle have forced me to do in the past when I used to let her bully me. Now I just be like, whatever, girl. But it's just too long, and I don't have time for that because I like to stack my classes. So that's why I don't do them.
Yeah,
They're just too long.
and I think that's what ended up. I think that dynamic is one of the things that had kind of got those things to kind of die down. That dynamic right there, that people, even if they're not using the stacking feature of the platform, I think there are just so many options, so many instructors, so many disciplines across, a company and platform. And people are doing all types of different, they got all kinds of different products. And we got a tonal in the house, we got other things, and people got other things. They're doing other things. I think 45 minutes in this day and age for the large majority of people probably is just a little much, is what it seems like.
I agree with all that. The one thing I will say is I don't think that's why they originally started dropping them, because pre-COVID they had like 110, 130 a month. Mm-hmm. But then when COVID hit, it dropped. And ever since COVID, it's been like 30. I think originally that was due to like the restrictions they had on taping and stuff. Mm-hmm. But now it might be everything else you were describing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You know what, Chris? That is a perfect leeway. If I skip the next two topics, that's a perfect leeway into the whole class purge lawsuit, that whole class action suit. Every once in a while we get a little update on the class action suit. If you guys don't know about it, back in, I don't know what year it was, 2019, 2020? 2019? Oh, okay. Peloton was sued by the music industry because they supposedly had songs in classes that they didn't have the rights to play. They supposedly thought they had the rights to play it, but they didn't. So then they had to go through this whole purging of all these classes. So, and then they worked out a deal, and then supposedly now they have those rights. Now, this is very layman speak here. Like, I'm sure there are greater detail to all of this. But immediately after that, there was a group of Peloton riders that were like, well, hold up. It says right in your advertisement that you're going to have an ever-growing catalog of classes. But since you had to purge all these classes, it's no longer ever-growing. Now it's less classes in the catalog than were there when I purchased. So we want compensation for you lying about your catalog being ever growing. And so that's been lingering around for a couple years now. I think a judge just recently agreed that, yeah, Peloton's going to have to speak to this. This case is going to proceed. So there's not been a ruling yet, but the judge agreed, no, this should proceed to figure out, whether or not they should be compensated. And every time I see this, I go, does anybody really go back and play classes that already, I play on-demand classes, but I don't play the same class more than once. So I'm not like going back 3 years ago looking for a class. Do people do that to that degree? Do they?
Ask people about the greatest showman with Robin.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think that might be the most popular ride on the platform, real talk, because the amount of people that have taken it over and over and over again. But I miss the Robin After Dark class so bad. Like, this was pre-IPO Robin. Robin used to curse. Robin wasn't even wearing a real bra. She was wearing lingerie. It was a hot ass mess. It was like my favorite ride ever. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I was so sad when it went to purge heaven.
See, I'm like Coco Loco in the chat. I'm like Coco Loco. I don't ever retake a class. Ever.
I've
I retake
never
classes
retaken
all
the
the
same
time.
class.
Yeah,
She have
I
to have a
retake them
benchmark.
all the time, so I can see where I've gone, like how I've grown.
Exactly.
But okay, so funny story, right? I've taken Allie Love's Michelle Montano ride a gazillion one times, and I kept saying to Paul, I'm like, I'm so scared that they're gonna purge it. I'm so scared they're gonna purge it, and this is my absolute favorite ride on the platform. And he was like, I'm so sick of hearing you say that. Please screen record it and save it to the cloud. So I literally have a 30-minute Allie Love Michelle Montano ride from 2 years ago from Black History Month, screen recorded on my device and saved to our iCloud. So that in the event that Peloton ever purges that class, I can always cast it from some device and still take it. Because my husband was literally like, I'm sick of hearing you talk about this ride and the fact that there's a possibility that they might purge it. So yeah, it lives on the cloud in my house.
Hey Danielle, if you ever miss a ride, just call Kenny Bonnie. I'm sure he has a whole collection on his
He probably got it recorded somewhere. That's exactly.
That guy has every
Probably.
ride.
Peloton bootleg collection.
Yes. If somebody needs it, I'll burn you a DVD. If you need the
dead.
Michelle ride,
Can you
I'll burn
imagine?
you a DVD.
Is there like a black market for Peloton bootleg? Like, if
Yes. Yes,
sorry.
it is.
That is hilarious. Well,
Yeah, he was like, I can't listen to you one more second talk about this ride and the potential of it being purged.
Yeah, just screen.
Honestly, though, I wish I did that with some of the other classes. Like, Ollie messed up, Oliver fucked up, but that man knew how to teach. And I'm sad they immediately purged his library. And I was like, damn, there was like certain classes I bookmarked.
They purged that real quick.
Immediately. They were like, take that shit back immediately.
Take that shit down now.
Period. Snatch that shit back. And so there's tons of those classes that I'm so sad that we lost because I bookmarked a bunch. And then it was, Nicole, I know you don't bookmark and retake nothing. We lucky that you actually work out. But for the rest of us, there are certain classes
She's too
that we
hungover to work out.
Oh my God, that was fun.
Yeah, that you right about that.
I was gonna say I retake a lot of rides. Like I said, I like to see where I'm going. I've taken some of the boss rides, I don't know, like 7 times or something. And because I retake them, most of BGM has retaken them.
Yes,
because
bitch.
I put them on
700 times. I'm like, when did I last take this? Oh, because Danielle put it on the swarm and made us. Right.
Exactly.
That's about the only time I really did retake a class. I think that you're right. Danielle assigned me a class, and it was an Alley class from like 2 years ago. And so then, yeah, it was a class I'd already taken. You're right. I did.
Danielle, the fitness bully.
That was the only time.
Made me do it. Here. Do you notice that Danielle is like kind of behind a lot of the angst in the group?
Of course, she is a fitness bully. I'm telling you.
Y'all love me.
When I first joined BGM, she was killing us. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
I just realized.
Someone didn't make me a hashtag for no reason. They made me a hashtag for a reason. So
I'm stronger because of Danielle, but I'm not happy about it. You know what I mean?
somebody who's fairly new to the platform, she was like, I took this class because of you, Lavalis. I was like, what class? It was one of Tunde's hit classes or something. And she said, you must have really liked it. You took it 4 times. I said to myself, that damn Danielle. But I didn't tell her that because I didn't want to ruin her perspective. But that's what I said in my head, damn Danielle.
That just made me realize, that just in this conversation, that made me realize that might have been one of the few times I actually retook a class because Danielle assigned it to me.
It's so awesome though to retake a class and see where you were and like how far you've come.
Really?
Like today, I redid a Robin Tabata ride today. It was only a 15-minute ride, and it was nice to see the progress from the 2 previous times I had taken it to where I was today. Like I literally blew my numbers out of the water from where I was. I was probably like a good 60, 70 output higher than I was when I took them before.
Okay.
So it's nice to take them and look at like just you and see how far you've come. And like what you can do now that you couldn't do before and how strong you've gotten. So I tell people all the time, retake the ride. Retake the ride and look at yourself. Filter on just me and look at what those numbers mean. And it could tell you a couple things. It could say, hey, 1, you were having a really great day and you can't catch yourself. Or 2, because I've had those days too, where I'm like, damn, what did I eat that day? And then there's other days where you totally blow your numbers out of the water. And you're like, wow, I've grown so much and I've progressed as like an athlete on this platform. So, I mean, retake the class.
Danielle, you're so like happy and like full of the Kool-Aid. Everybody in the comments is like, not me.
Yep.
Never that. Good story, Danielle.
That sounds so lovely,
So every time I see Danielle's stories where she puts like, oh, look at my improvement, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of cool. And then when I get on the bike, I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that. Next.
Honestly, I appreciate it, but I will say for certain class types, it is a problem, right? Like you kind of have to, because like folks who in the comments, they're talking how about PZ. There's only so many PZ classes, and God forbid you like hip hop and want to take a Power Zone class. There's like 6 decent ones.
Yeah, Oleg was talking about that in the group about PZ. Now, yeah, from that perspective,
yes, Oleg had a point because Power Zone, there is a dearth of variety, right? There's only so much from like a music standpoint.
Yeah.
And if you are taking PZP, like the challenge, again, I'm speaking as a third-party observer because I refuse to take Power Zone class, like the proper Power Zone challenge, because the music is trash. Like I am not the kind of person that will play my own music while riding the Peloton. Why the fuck do I pay a membership for if I have to do that? So I'd rather do a sweat steady class because it's a PZ format for endurance sake. At least the music is good. Yeah, Jess King's voice is not necessarily my cup of tea, but A, she's self-aware.
That's right.
Because she said, I can't control my voice.
Right.
So if you need to raise the volume on the music, go right ahead. See, and I appreciate that about her.
Yeah, I can appreciate
like, yeah, she knows her voice is high pitched. She can't help that shit.
You know what I mean?
She kicks my ass.
I love Jess.
Right? Totally... No, like Jess is that bitch. She is self-aware. She knows her titties be distracting and that her voice is too damn high.
See, I can
but she's here for the vibes and to kick your ass.
See, I can appreciate that.
Listen, I totally agree with Steph. Number one, you need the boobs to get through the ride. The boobs get you through. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your preference is. Those boobs will get you through a sweat steady ride or a climb or anything because they're like magical. When we were doing a climb challenge in BGM, every single person PR'd on a Jess King ride. And me and Joanne decided that it's because her boobs are magical. No matter what your preference is, those boobs are there and they're magical and they get you to the top of that hill and you literally crush your PR every single time without fail. Every single person who did that climb challenge with us hit a PR every single time she taught.
Wow.
For once, I have nothing to say.
That's where I'm at. And my wife is in the audience, Sheldon. Now, I mean, I can't comment on none of this. I mean, they
look at that restraint.
You know what I mean?
Can you please look at Coco Loco's
being quiet is free.
I believe the answer is I hadn't noticed.
I hadn't even noticed this. I didn't even know what you guys are talking about. Okay, I don't know what you guys are referring to.
That's okay. I'm just telling you.
I'm agreeing.
I'm telling you. I don't. No matter what your preference, those boobs get you there.
Well, that's something I didn't even know. I don't know nothing about this.
Are you going to edit that, or is that going to be the leading clip?
What's going on, Anisha?
Can we talk about Coco
So
Loco's comment on the chat? I mean, that takes it for the night.
Oh, I missed it.
so I'm just gonna be that one person that has to basically come in here. I'm gonna do like Minardi does for Beachbody and
Yeah.
kind of hold it down for PZ. Be that when it comes to the PZ because it has a place, it has a purpose. And it's just about the whole mental thing. I
Right.
get it. I get the music and everything. And
Right.
just like you can get through the boobs,
Right.
I got Uncle Dennis up in there. He looking like a snack. I can ride through that.
Right. Right.
I
Okay.
can watch TV. I can do other stuff. There are options. And
Right.
yes, I agree. You pay for it. You pay for the music and everything. I don't mess with it. I'm too busy being a zone hoe. So I'm all
Okay.
up in that graph because I want a sexy graph and a pretty graph.
Right.
So I don't have time to worry about the music. I'm just trying to make sure for these 3 minutes I'm holding my zone because when I finish, I want a sexy graph.
Okay. Okay.
All right, listen. The one thing I have to say, Niche. Listen, I did a PZ challenge because you made me. I did it under duress. I was stressed the entire time. It was horrible. I will never do it again.
Never say never.
I just said never.
You did, and then you're going to eat those words. I promise
I'm
you.
not.
Friends.
I'm
Love
not.
you, mean it.
Dennis is like the high uncle who shows up to the barbecue late, telling his stories of his glory days and leaves with like 3 plates of food. He is so damn distracting on a PZ ride. His stories, I swear to God, one day I stayed in the push for 3 extra minutes because he was talking and I was like completely zoned out and I couldn't even say what he was talking about. And then he's like, okay, now we're gonna head back into zone 4. I'm like, what? I've been in zone 4 this whole damn time. What are you talking about? Like I missed my whole recovery.
Look, he rides to the music. So when the song ends, you know you're going into a new zone. That's one thing you
And
can say
listen,
about him. He
I was
one
new to it.
song,
I
one
didn't know that.
zone.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was a song, a zone. Like I didn't know that. I was new. I just know. He's literally like that high uncle that he probably hangs out with Snoop Dogg. He shows up late. He talks about his glory days surfing.
I love that
Like what he
dude.
was
I
like in
gotta
high
tell
school.
you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like oh my God. Like he's super
He
cool.
I
is.
love that
I
dude.
love
For
his
that
Fresh Fridays.
reason, I love that dude.
And
I
yes.
love his Fresh Fridays.
And
Before Power Zone, I was like, nah, man, you just had me in zone 4 for 8 minutes straight. I missed my whole damn recovery because I couldn't even tell you what you was talking about. And now I got to go right back to zone 4 that I never left. Nope,
but
not going to do it.
they drop
Danielle,
all
who
different
hurt
types.
you? Like, who hurt you as a child?
But it just I can understand. I do understand how people feel about it, but I do think that especially from an endurance perspective, when it came for me, that was where the lesson was. Being able to go into Power Zone, and especially because there, at least, I call it the no flex zone. Because it's you against you. You have your graph set up or your zone set up, so you're maintaining your zone. So it doesn't matter if you're trying to take somebody on the leaderboard because you're really more concerned with being able to maintain your zones. And when I'm not going to say master it, but when you get good at it, then you know when you go into other rides when you can push or when you can pull back. And then you can go ahead and kind of mess with things on the leaderboard in that way, at least from my perspective and opinion. And I do get it. And I do like the Sweat Steady rides as well, but I am going to caveat her music ain't always good. Sometimes it's trash. So, I mean, if you got the boobs to get you through class, I mean, I get it. I'm here for it. Whatever it takes to get you through the class. But, there's a little
I
something
love
for
you.
everybody.
I knew
Niche.
you were gonna be a whole Power Zone apologist. I was not coming for Power Zone. I am just saying that Oleg had a point, right? The people who do
Yeah.
certain class types like Power Zone, they don't have a unlimited library. And so from
No.
that standpoint, yeah, you know what? Maybe that lawsuit is valid because if you out here like there's not an unlimited option of hip hop themed Power Zone classes, then yeah,
Mm-mm.
let me sue their asses. You better give me more hip hop Power Zone classes.
Well, yeah, because there were some that were kind of like we know other instructors have done in the past where it's not titled as such. So you can have classes that had an all hip hop playlist that got
Literally,
purged, but still say, look,
period.
that's not in the repertoire anymore. And I need you to pull that back because you don't have anything else. Like I can't do emo for 45, 60 minutes every single week.
Niche,
I mean, I could, but that's just me.
Niche, I want you to Niche, when we did the climb challenge, how many times did you PR on the climb rides with Jess King though? Don't lie.
I mean, she's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
Robin when it comes to it.
Right,
Like she
right,
has you all
right.
the time, like pushing. But here's the thing: I'm not going to say it's her. Just the same,
Did
like with the
those
Sweat Steady ride. My
did those
PD
magic
made
boobs
me
push you to
love her
PR on the
Sweat Steady.
climb?
It was just her. It was just
Uh
her
huh.
asking me. She spoke to me in a way,
Right.
like Robin
Those
does. I
magic
mean, I
boobs
PR
spoke to
with her
you,
at times. I have PR'd with her at times on the tread too. I mean, in a rock
and they're still
class, she had me
magic
running
boobs.
on a hill.
Here, let me bring in Courtney. What's
No.
going on, Courtney?
Hey y'all. I was just gonna get back to the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I missed y'all last week, but I listened on the Apple podcast, so I now know what Zeppelis are and what a hero is, and now we're talking about like magic boobies. But I think for me, she has this like taking her EDM EDU classes. It's now I've learned trance EDM, and it's like she just gets you into this like trance, and I don't know if it's the sway of the boobs or just like her voice, and she like lures you in. And I find on a lot of her classes I hit my PR because it's like she gets your mind and your body into the power zone, like especially her Sweat Steady. But I wanted to ask about the lawsuit, like ever growing library, but they're always adding live classes. So I don't understand the basis and the validity of the lawsuit. Not just that, but what type of compensation are we talking about? Like $2, which isn't going to even buy me a Zeppeli or a Hero or avocado or the cream and sugar that I need to go in my coffee.
Okay, I don't know how
I
many
don't get it.
people are a part of the class action, but yeah, I think it's just that wording, ever growing, and the fact that it decreased. Like it went from a certain number of classes in the library and then the next day it was like less than half that. I think it's just that dynamic. I think had they,
But
you know what I mean? I think
wasn't it
go ahead.
also because of server space? Like, I mean, the servers crash now, so aren't they also just limited on like the data space to house all these classes as well?
I don't think they have that limit.
I doubt it.
I don't think. I mean, yeah, cloud space now. I don't know that they have that issue, but I'm sure there are other factors now, like what they're paying per song for playing. So I'm sure there are other factors, but I don't think it was space.
Did you notice that like after that decision was made, we all got pushed a new terms and agreement for using the Peloton app?
Right.
Because I actually read it, and that's what they said. Like, we have the right to take down whatever classes.
Right.
And like
They changed
updated
that
the
wording.
term immediately.
They
Exactly. And that
changed
was
that.
going to be my next follow up, Stephanie, is that I read it too. And I was like, how interesting we get pushed this. And I read it line for line, being the future board member that I want to be.
Okay.
And I was like, now they're smart to say we have the right to add, delete, do whatever we want with this. So that way, I just do not understand the foundation of the lawsuit. Like,
yeah, I think it was a group of people that were opportunistic with regards to the dynamics, right? It's like if you said it was ever growing, now it's not ever growing, and I don't like that, and you lied to me.
One word,
right?
Lawyers.
Right.
Semantics, baby. Semantics.
Right.
You said a thing, and it wasn't the exact thing that you meant. So
Right.
now I'm
But I
going to sue
guess
your ass.
Right.
But I guess what it like ever growing, but it is ever growing because I need to be on the defense because at some point the ever growing is going to catch up with the purge classes.
Right.
So that's what I don't get. It's going to keep growing. We have all for one. We have 150 something classes that's going to be released in like 72 hours. Like it is ever growing, and I don't know. I would love to be on the defense of this because I just feel like it
it's just
doesn't
lawyers
make
looking
sense.
to make some money. They're hoping they'll settle it out so it won't go to court, make some bucks, and move on.
Right.
That's what they want.
And I think that that may be what ultimately happens, right? Because this thing's been lingering for a while now.
Yeah, it's been lingering for a while, and I think that it finally landed on a judge who saw some level of validity of it because it doesn't make sense. And I've read a few of the articles about it, and I'm like, I don't get the basis, but I do think that Robin and whoever were very smart to push out those new terms and conditions right away to say, let us clear this up for anybody and everybody who also wants to slam another lawsuit.
Yeah, they were smart to do that. Let me bring in Jessica Minardi. What's going on, Jessica?
What's up, fam? I
What's
just wanted to
happening?
say hello.
What's going on? We all good.
I think these people are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
And Power Zone is actually, I can't believe I'm saying it, it's really helped me become a better runner. So I don't know, D. I think you should try it again because I was the same one kicking and screaming and I got into it and it's helped me a lot. But I also do love Sweat Steady. It is the magic titties. Can I say that?
Yes.
And Jess and I did take one of those 6 hip hop Power Zone classes yesterday, so 5 more to go.
Yeah. Just repeat them.
They
And I
really
only
are
take
good.
Matt. I don't mess with Dennis. I only take Matt. I'm not messing with anybody else.
I like taking any
So
the Matt hip hop classes are fun. Just watching him is fun.
Matt's hip hop classes really. I'm like, you put your foot
Matt,
in it.
Right?
Okay.
Right?
listen, Matt is lit. His
You know
hip
what I
hop
mean?
runs, his classes, his stretches,
Right?
his strength for runners. I literally filter not for hip hop music and Matt, and I'm just like, you did that, like
Right?
Right?
Let me find out.
Yeah, people
Okay,
yes,
Matt.
like
people be
okay,
sleeping
and
on that.
like everyone hits. Yeah,
Yeah, people be sleeping
he's
on
dope.
that.
Matt
Yep.
Matt is bae.
Yep.
So just I'm not going to say I won't do Power Zone classes. I will never do a Power Zone challenge. The
Facts. Me
person in
neither.
charge of setting up the Power Zone challenges picks the worst classes on the platform.
You are absolutely right. I will never do it either. So that's fine.
So I will never do a Power Zone challenge. I'm not saying I won't ever do a Power Zone class.
Got
Period.
it. Okay, that's fair.
Period.
I'm not doing no challenge. I'm sorry, Niche. I'm sorry. No, I'm good. Because what you
I
won't
didn't
do is have me
say,
on no country
but did
something
I?
something.
But did I? I wasn't promoting the challenge. I didn't promote the challenge. I just promoted Power Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say anything about the
What
challenge. I mean,
you
Danielle is
forced me to
challenge
do a challenge.
queen.
Yeah, I'm not a
Well,
PZ
because
challenge queen.
you
That was the
that was
longest time of my life. I feel like I lost hours
I
that I
would
can't ever
never.
get back.
yeah, but that was friends supporting friends because before that you snatched my soul with Tabatas and everything else. So we had to have some type of compromise. That was the compromise. Thank you.
I don't, and that's the last time I compromised. Never again. Just so we're clear, if you're friends with me, it's my way.
I can't. Team
I'm an
Tabata
only
though.
child.
Tabata
I'm an
forever.
only child. I'm an only child. This is how my life works. It's my way.
All right, check it out. We got like 10 minutes, and I want to make sure we get to these last couple of these last 4 in. But the next one that's on the list is about Peloton talking about they about to start sending out bikes, do-it-yourself assembly.
Not in the IKEA ass fucking. I was like,
Peloton done
absolutely
got
not.
ghetto with that one. When
They
I saw
talking
that, I was
about
like,
No,
I
no.
know you
I
fucking
think it's
lying.
smart. It is so flipping easy to put a bike together.
For
It
you,
takes.
but I'm
That's
not doing that.
you, Sheldon. I ain't doing that shit.
Well, Sheldon, you
I'm
can come
just.
pick up the other one that I'm gonna get because I ain't no way in hell.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
easy.
They
It
said
really
Sheldon.
Got it.
takes.
Bike is
And my
super
thing got a
easy.
comma in it, and you want me to put it by myself with a comma in the price tag? I know you lying.
Yes.
So
I'm like, yes, anything with a comma deserves white glove delivery. Commas.
they
Like
they
I
want this
commas
is
wasn't.
Okay,
deserve
I
my
white
wasn't.
glove
Chris, it
bags
sounds
need
like
delivery.
an
to come out.
opportunity.
My bags need to come out of the wrapping and go on my shoulder for the amount I pay. Ain't no way in hell.
but
No.
listen, they talking
So
about they have to redesign the bike in order to be able to make it so it's do it yourself. And so now I'm trying to figure out like what do they have to I don't get
It'll
that.
be even jankier
Well,
than
see,
the Bike Plus.
What do you
but
have to
Paul said
redesign to make
Yeah.
it so that you can ship
They
it
just need to
from
dumb it down. They need to. There's a few things like idiot proofing it. I mean,
Okay.
all the echelon bikes will come in a box. Like
Yeah.
I put 3 together. It's really easy. It doesn't take much at all, but it takes a little bit of time. It does take. It probably takes half an hour to put together.
Is it just like
And
how they're
so.
like the the nuts and bolts are like how they're
yeah, it's like
attached or
it's almost
like
idiot proof. Like things only fit a certain way.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's most of it comes together. Basically, you put the handlebars on, the screen on, and the seat on. That's the
That's what
pedals.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
My husband said I
yeah,
wasn't here when my bike got delivered because it was a gift, and I told you guys this. It hung in my basement for over a month before I knew it was here. But he said when they brought it in, they literally put like 3 pieces on. So
Well,
Yep.
it's
it's
not
not like
much.
this big.
no,
It's way smaller than like an
Yeah.
IKEA project that has
Yeah.
8 million pieces to it.
Yeah.
So everyone
yeah.
who's comparing it to IKEA,
Here's
it's
the
not the same.
right. Here's the thing. What they're probably redesigning it for is shipping, because they want to minimize the size of the box. so they can ship more of them in like a FedEx truck,
right,
or whatever. And it's probably a dimensional expense as well. So once you get a certain size box and certain weight, they don't charge you by the weight; they charge you by the size of the box.
Right.
So they're trying to minimize the size of that box so they can really reduce the shipping costs.
But Sheldon, how do you flat pack a bike? I'm just saying.
I'm just telling you,
yeah, it's possible. Like I agree.
I tell you, Echelon comes in it literally comes in a box. That it's a heavy box. It's 125 pounds, but it's a box and it is packed in there. I mean, that box can get beat to hell, and the bike is fine.
Hey.
So my question was, do you have the option?
Do you have an option?
So,
That's
like,
the question I have
do you
too.
have the
I think there is. I think there is a white glove service. I think you can pay for. I don't think anyone does, but I think they can pay for it. I don't. Personally, I'm 90% sure there is one.
Because I'm like, if there's no option, then that's a problem because there are going to be people who can't put it together.
Oh,
like
I
if
totally
I didn't
think,
have Paul,
it's a total business
I couldn't
idea,
put it together. It wouldn't matter if it was in one piece and I needed to put one bolt in. I'd be like, nope, I'm not doing it. I would call somebody and pay them to do it. But I have Paul, so it doesn't matter if it's one piece or 300 pieces because I know he can put it together because he's handy. But it's nice. It would be nice to have an option. Like if you want us to assemble it, it's going to be an extra $100 or $150 or whatever the assembly fee is going to be. But if you're going to do it yourself, then there's no additional charge. They need to have those levels.
Isn't there already an assembly fee though?
There was. I don't know what it's like now. I know that Paul was telling me when he got my bike that there was an assembly fee and you couldn't opt out of it.
Yeah.
Like he had to get it. There was no option for it.
Yeah. When I got my bike a long time ago, there was an assembly fee and I'm still mad about it. So
yeah, and he was mad about mine. That's what he told me. He was like, I was irritated because there wasn't an option to turn down the assembly fee. Because you had to have them assemble it, so you couldn't get out of that fee. So it was stupid to say it was like, you add on the assembly fee because you didn't have an option.
When I first saw that you said that under the post, Danielle, it reminded me. I was the same way. I remember that back in, but that was back in 2016. But I remember asking Erica, why we have to pay it was like $250 back then or something like that. Like we have to pay the $250.
That's exactly what it was.
It was $250 in 2018 too.
Yeah, I was like, why do
I'm still hot just talking about it. I was like, $250. I was mad.
Yeah. I just think that it was to mitigate, or like to help basically for like warranty coverage. Because like, if you can guarantee that a Peloton person or, third party person that they contracted with assembled the bike, they therefore take on the risk for the bike being not assembled correctly. So how are they going to accommodate that if the user is assembling the bike?
Well,
you know what I mean? Because
I get that, but there are so many other companies that have been doing it this way. Like, so how are they managing?
And I think because at the time they broke it out as an assembly fee. So if you break it out as an assembly fee and you say, well, I don't want assembly, then I should not have to pay that fee. But they didn't give you the choice back then. It was like, okay, just put it in a cost then. Because if you're forcing me to take it, which is what they were doing back in the day, was you had no option other than take the assembly fee, just put it on the cost of the bike. But when you break it out as an assembly fee, it's kind of like, oh, I have I don't want you to assemble it. I can do it myself.
Go ahead, Chris.
You know what I mean?
It was delivery and assembly bundled into one.
Right. To Nisi's point, like about the your warranty I don't know how they manage that, but I just know that like Echelon and I know iFit and other companies already do this stuff, so I don't know, right?
In my head, when I think of assemble by myself, I think of like when I go purchasing, then it comes with that one tiny small Allen wrench.
Right.
And I could just imagine myself trying to piece together this bike with this really, really tiny Allen wrench. I can't envision it. I just cannot see it. And then my concern is, how do you ensure that I did it correctly if I'm purchasing insurance? So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I will not be the one that I want someone else to come and assemble it for me, because I know when that happens and I have insurance, then that means if something happens or breaks down, then you are required to come back and look at it.
Yeah, I understand. I hear that.
I feel
I
like
think
too though,
it's
if they make that an option for self assembly, that they can't void your warranty if you do something wrong, because
They
you
don't. They
told me I
don't.
could assemble it myself.
Yeah, they totally don't. I mean, it's acceptable loss. I mean, they just accept a certain amount of loss.
Right.
Most people do not screw it up. It's very very rare that someone messes it up. But I say it's very very rare. I guess I don't have the data on that, but you don't hear a ton of it happening. The worst thing I hear people do is cross-threading a pedal. That's the but
Right.
heck,
Okay.
XPO does that on the reg.
Right.
So I mean that's I think it's an acceptable loss for the people that do it, and I think you just save so much money that they just take that loss.
Right. That makes sense to me. A couple of things that were interesting to me that it was included in these statements from Uncle Barry is he mentioned FedEx. Like he said, so that we could ship via FedEx. And then, previously he had said, we need to meet our customers where they are. They're purchasing online. And I took that as Amazon? Like maybe that's me going too far. But my mind started thinking, wait a minute, am I going to start like seeing Peloton, you can purchase it through Amazon? Like, I don't know.
I don't disagree, but I feel
So
like
Sure, why not? I mean, who cares?
I
Who
don't know
cares
that
where
I
you buy it?
care, but I'm trying to
yeah,
like
who cares?
translate like what he's saying, right? And that's the thing that's coming to mind based on what he's
I
saying.
feel like he was talking about showroom, like their showrooms versus
Yeah.
online. That's
Oh,
saying that.
okay.
so
So
the only
funny story, like John posted about them being sold at Dick's, and a couple months ago, I got an email from Dick's Sporting Goods, and it said for your best treadmill needs or whatever, and it had the Peloton logo and the Peloton name with someone else's treadmill. So I was like, wait, what?
Like, was that a mistake? Like, what? Wow.
I, I was thoroughly confused. I was like, is this clickbait that they're trying to get you here? Because I clicked on it, and it's a normal email for me. And I clicked on it. I trusted the source, and it definitely was not a Peloton treadmill. I don't remember the brand that it was. I sent it to John. And I was like, look at this email that I got that says it clearly said Peloton on it,
I
but it was not a Peloton treadmill.
I only went there because Uncle Barry just said we're closing down many showrooms. Because then I started thinking, well, aren't a lot of people like going into showrooms for the purpose of trying it out? And if you don't have showrooms near people across the country, then and they want to try it out, how will they do it? So my mind just went to, does that suggest we're going to start seeing them in other like retail outlets? And I just mentioned that to Erica. I literally was like serious, and I was just mentioning it to Erica. She starts laughing. I'm like, what? No, I'm serious. How are they going to try it out, right?
So now, of course, I'm like, so was this like, did Dick send this too early? And this is really going to happen? I did send this to someone at Peloton. I sent them a screenshot originally, and they asked me to send them the email about it
Yeah.
so they could like look at it. And they were like, thank you very much for letting us know, yada, yada, yada. But I don't know what that actually means. So now, of course, because of all of these changes and the do-it-yourself assembly and the closing of showrooms, my mind is literally like, oh shit, are these really going to be like available through Dick's? And Dick's just jumped the gun and sent this
I wouldn't be
email too
surprised
early.
over any of this stuff. Like Sheldon said, I wouldn't be surprised if they start showing up on Amazon. I wouldn't be surprised if they start showing up in certain retail outlets. It just sounds like Uncle Barry is going towards the model that a large swath of this space has been doing now for years. So like, it all kind of adds up. It takes you a second to process in your mind because Peloton has been so separate from that for so long. But yeah, I mean,
I think it's a great idea because I know people are saying, "Oh, I want the white glove treatment." My XPO installation group was trash. I don't even know, dirty glove treatment. I don't know what it is, but shipping it. I agree with Sheldon. The installation is super simple. Like it's a monitor, a few things. My concern is that sucker is heavy. If you need to put it on a second floor, I don't know who's going to get it up the steps by themselves. So they would definitely need help with that. But the install is simple.
So my questions are: one, if they up the price because they want to go back to that, exclusive level model. How does that play into having it potentially online at Amazon or
That's where
in a
I'm
Dick's Sporting
confused.
That's a
Goods,
good
for
point.
That's
example.
where I'm
Like, how does
confused.
that work
Yes.
out? Because to
Can
That's
me,
you
if you're upping
imagine?
the prices, where does that? You're not on Amazon.
that's where
This is
You're
I'm
not
not
a
in
confused.
Dick's.
premium experience
Plus
anymore.
minus.
That's where I'm confused. I don't know.
There's gonna be
It sounds
tags on top of tags for
it's
sale,
like they're
and
sending
it's
two
gonna
different
on the aisle.
messages. It's like, which message is the right one? We're going to be exclusive and we want to be that upper level, fitness experience, or we're going to be the experience for everyone. Because I feel like
That's
John Foley was we want to be the experience for everyone. We want to make sure, Peloton is available to all the masses, which is great. Because then, yes, you can buy it from Amazon. You can buy it from a Dick's Sporting Goods. You can assemble it yourself. But on the flip side, Uncle Barry is like, we're getting away from that. We want to go back to where we were, to the higher levels. Well, in those cases, you're not on Amazon. You're not in Dick's Sporting Goods.
yeah.
You're not
That's
assembling it
yeah.
yourself.
Uncle Barry's like saying both. He's saying both things. So and that they seem contradictory, but I don't.
Or
I don't know.
I had a
And
thought.
I will
Maybe
just
they're
say,
just trying.
I was going to say, I know everyone complains about XPO, but I will say XPO delivered my treadmill and they were fantastic. They really were. They were super helpful. They set everything up. They took all of the trash, even though like Peloton had told us they weren't going to take anything because they couldn't, because it was like COVID already or whatever. And they came in, they set everything up. They carried it all down. They were amazing. So I had a great experience with XPO. I know everyone else hates them, but I
No,
just want to throw it out
Danielle,
there that some of us had good experiences with it.
Yep.
I've heard that too. It's a mixed
Yeah,
bag,
it's a
but I've
mixed
definitely
bag.
heard people have good experiences.
I bought a few products from Peloton, and one was good. Next one was horrible. The next one was all right. Next one after that was terrible. It's a mixed bag. XPO has been good to me in some instances, bad in others. So I don't know.
I mean, they did smell like weed, but
But your setup was the
but
bomb,
they were
though.
great.
Right? Exactly.
My setup was a bomb, and
That's
they were so
exactly.
nice
That's
and
why it
so
was great.
helpful.
They were high as a kite. That
Well,
service
listen,
is
then let them
top.
all be high. Then let them all be high.
Were you trying to say
Whatever
something?
works.
That's been my experience too. They were always smelling like weed, but it was fantastic service. So keep it coming.
You know what I mean? Go ahead, Courtney.
Danielle,
Jesus.
they had heard.
You giving them
Danielle, they had
snacks
heard from
too on the
other.
way out?
I did not give out snacks. I missed that opportunity. I was new to this. I didn't know I was supposed to have a bag of snacks ready.
Just tip
Well,
them in
if you
Mount,
came
tip
in
them in Mountain
smelling
Dew
like
and
weed, I would have
Funyuns.
offered them snacks.
That's how
Listen,
they're able
Hot
to stay so
fries.
calm. I'm telling
I don't
you.
know about that life.
Tip them
I
with
don't know
hot
about that
fries.
life.
Go ahead,
They
Courtney.
knew where they were installing. They were prepared for Danielle. They were like, we gotta get something on before we
Hey
get there.
man, she gave me Funyuns.
She has
Awesome.
a pole in her gym.
They gave I gave them funnel cake dingleberries, aka Zeppelis.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Oh man.
Let me get
Good
Courtney in.
night.
Tired.
What's going
PM.
on?
Thank you.
Were you trying to
Shots
get in,
fired.
Courtney?
No, I was just gonna say that, like, or what if the thought process is to become like the Warby Parker of fitness, meaning like you can buy it online. There's minimal retail stores. It ships to you. Go back to their like 100-day free trial. If you love it, you keep it. If you don't like it, then you have to box it up and send it back. Like, what if that's also the vein maybe that Uncle Barry is going, and not necessarily making it available at like a Dick's or Amazon,
Yeah, it could be
but
that.
taking, like, could it be that, like, taking the showroom, kind of moving it online,
Right.
and then just having it, hoping that you keep it once you put it together, and not necessarily making it available. Because to me, that's like, I think moving it purely online or like half online makes more sense than putting it in Dick's and putting it at these other places, unless they're going to also put it on their online platforms as well, if he's trying to get out of the showroom business.
I like that. The idea that your try before you buy is your 100-day, yeah, and rather than, at some brick and mortar. Like, yeah, it could be. Maybe that's the model. Maybe, maybe my thought is a little too far. I don't know. But
I'll
go
go
ahead.
one further on that real quick. From everything Barry's been saying, I don't think he wants to sell hardware anymore. Maybe he's just raising the prices so more and less people start buying them, because he just wants to get everyone on the app. That's what he said in this interview last week. He
Totally
wants to reach
agree.
100 million through the app. So if he prices it so high, he can take it to shareholders and say nobody's buying it. we should just stop making these.
Wow.
He wants to make all the money through subscriptions.
I think 100% right, man.
Another thing he said in that article was that, we're heading hard, which we had heard before. We're heading hard toward offering our software on other hardware devices, and then coming up with a freemium-ware model so that we could offer on some hardware devices, free content to get people into Peloton. So based on that, yeah, you could be right, Chris. Like maybe this is just we're pricing it up so that we're not losing any money on the hardware, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we don't care if you buy it.
Hey, I think he's doing kind of like Costco. Costco make their money with subscription and chicken of $5. I mean, they get the people. Costco get the people in with their $5 chicken. They lose money with the chicken, but you come with the chicken and you get out. That's only $1,000.
It's the $1.50 hot dog.
They get you with the $5 chicken.
Welcome to Pello Chick.
The $1.50 hot dog and drink.
Oh my God!
That $1.50 pizza, that $1.50 pizza
Also,
slice gets
That's
me
what they
every
get you with. The $1.50 pizza.
Listen, Peloton is doing like people that try a different diet every 3 months. They don't know what the fuck they're gonna get. So
I don't know.
They're trying everything, man. They're trying everything.
I don't know how to map all these pricing changes. I mean, my page looked like Etch-a-Sketch trying to keep up with all these pricing changes. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I know we're over time, but there was one last thing I wanted to mention because I saw that Chris dropped this yesterday. Chris, you mentioned that that Peloton did an update to the audio mix so that the more music versus more instructor is better than it was before. Is that true?
I mean, there wasn't a high bar to be better than it was before, but it seems to work now.
Let Chris have his own font. There needs to be a sarcasm font for real.
I mean, I never really used it because it didn't seem like I don't know. It would have to drop one or the other much more than it was dropping them. So I never knew if anybody really used it.
It's a huge difference now. Like if you haven't tried it recently, like it's been in the London ones, it's been modified for a while, but it seems like the US studios started to do something differently. And there's a big difference now when you change to more music or more instructor.
Dang. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out.
So, John, you thought that was more important to talk about the new instructor?
Do I? Wait a minute. Do I not have that on?
We got a new woman, right?
That was last
rumor.
Week. Oh, wait a minute.
No,
You're right.
Not even the rumor. I didn't even get to the rumor. We have a new act.
Well, we mentioned the new German instructor last week, right?
Yes, we did.
Did we?
Yeah, we did that last week. But yeah, I know Chris dropped news about a possible new instructor today as well. And I think, were you talking about that one?
I wanted to talk about. We already talked about, but we can talk about the potential instructor, and I definitely have thoughts and comments on that one because people were losing their minds, and I'm like, go take a Xanax, relax.
The comments were amazing. They were like, oh, we needed to, fire a whole bunch of people so you could afford the luxury vacation.
They were going
for the new instructor.
They were going.
People suing that they don't have any classes.
They were going in.
Here's my thought process, right? Here's my thing. It takes anywhere from 6 months to a year when Peloton hires someone before they are officially announced.
Yeah.
Chris has scooped them
again
weeks or months in advance sometimes before this person has actually been announced.
Right.
So yes, they just laid off a shit ton of people yesterday, but this woman, if she is in fact hired, was hired months ago at best, right?
Right.
Potentially a year, because I think it was a year before they announced Kirsten as an actual official Peloton instructor. So no, if they announce her next week, the optics will look shitty because they just laid off people, but they didn't just hire her today.
No.
They didn't go out and find her today. We need this new instructor.
No, I get that. I think that all
Kirsten and Marcel were, I think, special cases because of COVID and like that was like a weird. That's why theirs was like a year, and she was talking about it on the Alley on the Run. podcast that just had launched.
Yeah.
But you're right, Dee. They take a while before they have to go through training. It's not overnight that instructors get launched, and I think it was just poor timing. But it is what it is. Like, this girl got to come out, you know.
And it hasn't been announced by Peloton. It's only been announced by Pelo Buddy.
I think
Like,
that
That's just as good.
but that's
That
just
is
as good.
just as good.
but listen, but Chris has scooped them before.
I think
Chris
that's
has
all
scooped
besides
them
the
weeks
point.
and months in advance. So even if she's coming, they may not announce her tomorrow.
I think
I
that's
agree.
all. I
Like,
think that's all besides the point.
I agree. Yeah, that's true.
I think that a year ago we were saying the same thing. We were going, dang, they got 40 some odd
A
instructors.
year ago,
How many they
a
need?
year ago, we were saying we couldn't even name anybody, and we were
Remember?
talking about no new friends,
We
like
were saying
no new
exactly.
instructors.
We were saying the
I
exact
still
same
can't
thing.
name anybody.
I still can't. Well, the thing that I'm like, okay, even if she started a year ago,
Right.
weren't they doing layoffs? A year ago, wasn't
Exactly.
the stock dropping? So I guess
That-
my concern is that, well, what about the other jobs of these other people in the showrooms, in, the price structure, the cost structure? Like, I just don't understand the business plan. And I really also don't understand where's the gap that this person is filling. Maybe
I mean, we have 5 people going out on
demographic.
maternity leave.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's that. There's also from a
Or maybe they're
representation gap.
preparing for someone. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Steph. Like, maybe there's a representation gap.
I think it's a
That I think
representation.
that, yeah, and I think people are missing that point. I think the optics are absolutely horrible, but I think instead of people thinking about, oh, why do we need another instructor for this platform? I think they're missing the point that maybe there's a gap in, like, representation, like Logan, like what this person, I can't remember
Right.
her name, but I think she is
Katie
of
Wang.
Asian,
She's Katie
like,
Wong. She's from Barry's.
Yep.
yeah.
She, I had a friend who was interviewed, like recruited by Peloton to go through the interview process, who is also of Asian American descent, and so I know that they're actively recruiting more Asian American and people of Asian descent for the platform, because again, they only have Emma, Samuel, and now Susie from East Asian representation, and you have Aditi for South Asian representation, and that's it. Which is problematic, given that the company has said that, we really prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion. We really want to make sure that people see themselves on the platform. When you don't have that many instructors on the platform, we don't have an Asian American or strength instructor of Asian descent. We just don't have one. So I can first see that being the niche that she's filling. But also remember that Peloton has expanded to other countries, right? So we have Australia, and we have Canada, and we have Germany as like the additional markets. And Australia, there are no Black people there. Okay, you got like Aboriginal, right? But mostly in Australia, the market is white and Asian. So if we're trying to expand the amount of your customer base, yes, having an Asian strength coach does matter.
Yeah, I can appreciate
Yeah, and
that.
I think that's what people are missing. The other thing, Steph, that I was going to ask you is, are we also expected to shed instructors? Like, is everyone going to stay through all of these changes as well? And maybe people are missing the point that maybe Peloton is trying to prepare for that. Also, the demographic that we're missing, the
regarding I don't think for shedding, because both Uncle Barry and other members of the senior management team have said that they are investing and doubling down on their strengths, which is instructor-led content. The folks that were laid off are not members of the content team. The first round of layoffs was focused on like the social impact team, from what I remember.
But I think you're talking specifically about your instructors, specifically instructors, right? I think is what you were asking about, Courtney, right? And from that perspective, I would be.
What I'm saying. Like, I feel like the optics are crazy, and I think, like in my mind, I'm separating like the business from like the content instructor. So I was saying not like people exiting, but like is this also being smart about any other instructors exiting, like Chase? I think that was either this year or last year. So that's what I was asking, Steph. Like, what if you had an
I
opinion
don't
on
know that.
that?
I don't know.
I don't necessarily think that they're trying to accommodate for shed, right? Like they do, there are instructors who are legacy instructors who have been there for a very long time. And like Jen Sherman doesn't teach that often anymore, but she's also older. So I'm thinking that they're trying to be mindful of folks' capacities, right? Like how often can they teach? And like the level of intensity with which that they can teach. Because I also feel like the standardization of the schedule and also teaching shorter class periods of time is also to allow for more instructor recovery. Because when we had like 8 instructors, there were a million classes, but they were also like 8 years younger.
Yeah, I think it may have something to do
Yeah,
with that. I kind of agree with that.
because
Maybe.
Cody posted that he's coming up on 8 years, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you don't get 8 years, and like it's hard for people to get 8 years in a league like NFL, but treating these folks like athletes, which they are. That's tough. So that's where my question was coming from with this new instructor.
And they can't leave on a dime. I'm pretty sure they have some sort of time frame that they have to give Peloton before they leave. So I would assume that they would have some instructors backfilling if in the event that does happen, which 8 years is a long time.
I don't see
That's
it
a
being.
really long time.
I don't see it from a perspective of instructors leaving, like, on their own will, other than, maybe age. Like, I just don't see another gig in this space that would give them anything more than what they have now, right?
No one is leaving this gig.
Nobody's leaving.
No, the only
there's
reason
zero chance.
There's nobody leaving.
I had heard the rumors say the reason why Chase was Chase and Peloton had a mutually agreed upon decision to, stop working together because they asked Chase to change his coaching style because he has less engagement than many of the other peers on the modalities he taught on. And so they asked him to teach differently. And he's like, no. And so he was like, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to agree on the timeline of
they
how
fired
you
him.
transition out.
They fired him. That's,
yeah.
There's no. I don't think it was probably a nice way for someone to exit.
Yeah, I just struggle.
It was like you're not meeting my whatever the requirements, or we need you to do it a certain way. And he was like, I don't want to.
And however that went down, whether it was him or them or whatever, if it was him, I think that's an outlier. People aren't just about to leave. I just don't see that. I don't believe it. So if there's some attrition or some folks that are going to be going, I gotta believe it'd be because they're not meeting some demographic, or they're older, or like. And Peloton it starts to make some decisions. I can't imagine them just going, you know what, I'm going to leave and go over to Nautilus. I just don't see it.
I can't. I mean, the only people that have left since I joined in 2018 were Jennifer Jacobs because she's called a member fat because she, read the leaderboard name and made a terrible comment, and Chase because he was asked, and Ollie, but we know why Ollie was asked to leave. So those are the only instructors that that have left, and Chase is the only one that left under like semi good, decent circumstances because Jennifer Jacobs is no longer on the platform, but Chase's content is still available.
2 German coaches quit too, but
that's right.
But it's like the pretty blonde girl, Marathon Princess, I think was her Instagram handle. And
no, it wasn't. Was it really?
Irene and Marina.
Yes,
that's
it was.
Right.
Yeah, it really was Marathon Princess. That was her name on Instagram.
All right. So hey, Shelly, how's it going? You there?
Sorry, I'm late. I actually had to work. You had Nicole Millen. She was the first person to leave.
Yeah, I don't know if she just left though, because I remember when she went and it wasn't a happy thing.
No. I'm saying she. I think she was the first one to get let go. But then Steve Little left on his own, and they left his stuff up for a very long time.
I don't think he left on his own either. That wasn't a good thing either.
No, but they left his thing up longer than they did.
He may have walked out the door.
I remember that whole thing. That was not nice.
Yeah. but there's been quite a number of Peloton instructors that left.
Yeah, but my point being
I
is
also
they
miss
weren't just
Colleen
leaving on
seeing
their
me.
own, right? That was the point. It was that they weren't leaving on
Yeah.
their own. It's like
Yeah.
generally it's Peloton saying, "Well, we're telling you to leave." Is what it has
Look,
seemed to
and
be.
I don't think any other like platform is paying what Peloton pays these instructors.
Exactly.
But then nobody else gets 4,000 or 5,000 people on a live ride.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
you go on some of Cody's rides, there are 6,000-7,000 people on a 5:00 ride.
You remember all
And
of
Jen,
these people like Nicole Moline and when Stephen Little, if you've been around a while and you remember these stories, I mean, it is kind of like a soap opera, some of those stories were wild.
nothing beat Ollie's though.
Yeah, nothing beat Ollie's. No, nothing beat that one. No, that one was.
But anyway, missed you guys tonight. Sorry about that.
No worries. I think I took everybody over by like 23 minutes, so we're just wrapping up. But anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me a little longer tonight. It's always fun. There were a couple small things that I didn't get to, but we'll save those for next week. And so I'll let you guys go. If I don't catch you guys on a ride, or if I don't catch you guys elsewhere, I'll see you guys back here next week. All right.
You mean
Right.
watching a ride?
Okay, I might be.
Bye, guys.
Definitely that Saturday 60. I'm gonna be watching y'all on that.
And John, John, for the record, I did tell you we were going to need 2 nights for tonight.
You were right. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night.
Bye.